TV's Friday Night Football presents live from Lansdowne Park in the nation's capital, the British Columbia Lions versus the Ottawa Rough Riders. It is fall here, folks. The calendar may not say so, but the weather is fall weather for this game between the Western Club from BC and the Eastern Club from Ottawa. And hello, everybody. I'm Bill Stevenson. This BC club has had just a remarkable 2.5 years under head coach Don Matthews. I mean, their record of 29 wins, 9 losses, and 1 tie. Going to the Grey Cup game and losing to the Toronto Argonauts. Then losing out the Western final last year to Winnipeg. And in the standings this year, well, they're away and rolling with a 6-1 mark, 12 points. They can go 4 points ahead of Winnipeg, depending what Winnipeg does in Saskatchewan Sunday with a victory here. But nothing will be complete for Don Matthews and his Lions unless he gets to the Grey Cup and brings the cup back to Vancouver and British Columbia this year.
I think in the last 2.5 years, the BC Lions have enjoyed some great successes during the regular season play. We feel this year that we have an excellent football team, probably the best in the last 2.5 years. But we're going to have to be more consistent offense, defense, and special teams if we are going to try to repeat our records of the last 2 years and get that ever-eluding Grey Cup that we're all after.
Tonight, the Lions are taking on the surprise club of the East without question. Joe Moss's Ottawa Rough Riders, entrenched in second spot, a fine defense, an offense that is getting better, and the future looks better for Moss and his Riders, and they may be very tough for BC tonight. Now let's go upstairs to Pat Marsden and Leif Pedersen.
Thank you, Bill. Hello, everybody across Canada. We have got a good one for you tonight. Let's talk about those surprising Ottawa Rough Riders, because they've got 2 really exciting newcomers.
Oh, they have, and they've got off to a great start. And what an opportunity for them tonight to show their stuff against the #1 team in the country. A couple of bright spots offensively. Derek Zeno, if you ask Joe Moss, say our special teams is the best part of our team, and Derek Zeno's done a great job returning punts for them. Mike Catterbone, a young receiver that's really helped solidify that receiving core. He's given J.C. Watts a good target.
But you know, Leif, Ottawa has played well this year. Their record indicates that, but they are in tough tonight.
Well, they sure are. BC, some kind of football team, and they too have some exciting performers, and I'm talking about number 24, Mervyn Fernandez, and of course, Keevan Jenkins. Mervyn Fernandez off to a great start this year, and with teams paying so much attention to him, it's really opened up that running game with Keevan Jenkins, and he is dynamite.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how Ottawa can handle those 2 people. We think it's going to be a good one. You stay with us right through the game.
This CFL telecast is brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Sports, bringing the sports world home to you. Of our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all our sons' command. Notre race porte le pègue, il sait porter le croix. Son histoire est d'épopée, des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
The referee for tonight's game is Bud Ulrich with the rest of his fine cast of officials. Pat, there's a bit of a breeze blowing down here. It may affect some of the punts when they get up in the air. We'll just have to see as the game goes on. But the wind is down considerably from what it was about a half hour ago. All right, Pat, we're ready for the opening kickoff.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. There's a look at Darnell Flash, #1, and Keevan Jenkins, #23. These guys can all outfly. I mean, you are looking at some people tonight who can return punts and kickoffs better than anybody else in the CFL. I'm thinking of Zeno with Ottawa, Jenkins and Flash with BC, and I think it's going to be an exciting game.
Well, I sure do too, Pat. I've been very impressed with Ottawa this year, and of course the BC Lions have played just error-free football all season long.
Well, I think Ottawa's in for a tough night, but let's watch and see as Dean Dorsey kicks it off. This will be Keevan Jenkins from his 10-yard line. And he got to the outside all right, but unfortunately for him, he did step out of bounds at about the 32-yard line, because had he been able to turn it upfield, I don't think anybody would have caught him. But by the time he got to the outside, his momentum was such that it did take him to the hash mark. There's Roy DeWalt, who will start at quarterback. John Henry White and Keevan Jenkins, two of the greats. And the receiving corps, what can you say, except every one of them is outstanding.
Well, the key right there is they've got such great balance all the way across the board.
And there's the first running play of the ball game. It goes to John Henry White, with Al Washington and Lloyd Lewis, the middle linebacker and the defensive end, numbers 17 and 63 in there. There's the All-Canadian offensive line for the Lions.
A couple of big tackles. John Blaine, Brian Hillebrand. Had dinner last night with John Blaine, and he said the team has really come together in their maturity. They're all good pals off the field, and boy, that makes a big difference.
The pickup was about 3 yards, so make it 2nd and 7 BC. Boy, DeWalt had a lot of time, and yet despite that, he throws the ball into the turf. This, of course, to me is the key thing for BC. Roy DeWalt has to be the catalyst for what is an outstanding offense if he does his job.
Well, that's true, and Don Matthews indicated yesterday at the press conference that through thick or thin, he's going to stick with Roy DeWalt as his #1 quarterback. Only under an emergency would Tim Cowan come in the game.
26 is Derek Zeno. 27 is Mike Catterbone, the two young people we referred to off the top of the show. They're exciting, particularly Zeno, as Lou Pasaglia prepares to punt. But this is a short one, and it lands in the hands of Chris Ziegler. And Ziegler is dropped at the 50-yard line, but Ottawa will take that. They're delighted. The fact that they enjoy this kind of field position after the first series of downs by BC just has got to be very pleasurable for head coach Joe Moss. J.C. Watts, like Roy DeWalt, must perform well here tonight if Ottawa's to have any kind of a chance.
A receiving core, you see, that's really been a sore spot the last few years with the Riders. They think they've solidified that with Mike Catterbone. We talked about him earlier, but Derek Zeno also an outstanding slot back.
Flag is down as the pass is caught by Wayman Aldridge in BC territory at the 43-yard line, but it will come back, and the penalty will be against the Ottawa Rough Riders.
I see Joe's not too happy with that one. I don't know if he could.
If Joe survives this season, he's got to be in the greatest shape of any head coach in football, because he is so emotionally.
Number 15.
It's holding.
First on repeated.
That's Kevin Powell, the left tackle, when they roll out. He put the grab on James Parker to allow J.C. Watts to get outside, but you're right. I wouldn't like to see Joe Moss on a stress test right now.
So they lose the game. They also lose the 10 yards because of the penalty. It's first down and 20 from the Ottawa 40-yard line. Watts unloads it at the final moment to Derek Zeno, and Zeno is brought down after a gain of only 5 by Nelson Martin, the safety number 4.
That's a great time to play defense here. When you've got first and 20, you can give a little room and watch things happen, but Nelson Martin comes up and does an outstanding job to take care of Derek Zeno coming across the middle. But BC is such a tough defense to go against. You just don't want to give them that added advantage of having long yardage situations.
So they actually pick up 6, make it 2nd and 14 at the Ottawa 46-yard line. Well, the football is loose. Let's see who covers it. It appears as though the Rough Riders got it back.
They're very fortunate. Kevin Konar came in there on the blitz and stripped the ball loose from J.C. Watts, and then James Parker was also around the football, but that's a big break for Ottawa, retaining possession.
Well, Jim Reed was able to fall on it. Let's watch now as J.C. Watts in an awful lot of trouble.
Well, there's Kevin Konar. He knocks the ball loose, and Jim Reed does a great job to recover that ball.
So Ken Clark will be punting for the Rough Riders, averaging over 46 yards a kick. He has really been as important a man in that Ottawa scheme of things as anybody this year. Oh, and he just puts this one into orbit. Clash is back at his 13-yard line. Mike Hamiluk was down very quickly, number 44, and he is able to contain the return by Darnell Clash to the 17-yard line. We are still scoreless here in the nation's capital, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stevenson mentioned off the top of the show that the wind may well be a factor here tonight, and you can tell in the first 2 punts of the ball game, Louis Pasaglia was only able to get away a 27-yarder into the wind. Kenny Clark booted his 58 yards with the wind at his back, so Ottawa picks up a net 31 yards right there. The Lions start at their 18-yard line with a first down. Pass is complete to Sandusky. Sandusky was able to evade the tackle by JoJo Heath, finally knocked out by Ricky Barton, but he picks up 31 yards on the pass completion from quarterback Roy DeWalt.
In our chat with Donnie Matthews today, he said this is what they were going to do because the Ottawa corners lay off the receivers, throw the quick hitch pass, and then try and make a big gainer out of it. Sandusky does an excellent job.
Gives BC possession at their own 49-yard line. First down. This is Mervyn Fernandez. I mean, if you're Lamont Meacham, number 33, you've got to say to yourself, why does this have to happen to me? Because he's the cornerback on that side. Mervyn Fernandez, one of the great receivers anywhere in football, and he was able to get by him to pick up the first down into Ottawa territory at the 50.
Well, one-on-one, and as you said, it's a scary situation. Watch the moves by Mervyn Fernandez. He's so fluid when he's running with that football. He picks up the first down.
Fernandez has that one go right through his hands.
Pat, to illustrate what the weather is like here today, Mervyn Fernandez was out of the ballpark a good 2.5 hours before the start of the game, almost 3 as a matter of fact, and well before the rest of the team. And he told me, because it's so cool, he said, I just need the extra time to try and loosen up to get warm for the game. And that's what he was doing for that full time, trying to loosen up and be ready.
Well, it's 57 degrees, 14 Celsius here at Lansdowne Park this evening, a real chilly fall evening. On second down, DeWalt with time again throws. Sandusky makes the catch. Forget it. He's going to go the distance for the touchdown. Jim Sandusky. And the Ottawa tackling here in the early part of the first quarter has really hurt them, because there again it was another missed tackle, and Sandusky takes it the distance.
Well, he put an excellent move on Lamont Meacham, but I think the key was the throw by Roy DeWalt. That's into the wind, folks, and he just throws that like a frozen rope. Sandusky makes the catch, and Meacham gambled. It didn't pay off, and the BC Lions are up 6-0 with the convert to come.
And since Louis doesn't miss, you can count it as a 7-0 ball game, and that's what it is. As the BC Lions really look impressive here early in the first quarter on that drive at least.
Well, Nick Volpe, our isolation director, was on Jim Sandusky in that particular play. Nice move to the inside, break it back out, and a great throw by Roy DeWalt.
So that's the way it stands right now. The BC Lions out in front of Ottawa 7-0. We'll be back with their kickoff in just a moment. Lansdowne Park as the BC Lions are set to kick it away. This one hangs up in the air and allows Zeno to come to his 16 to take it. Boy, let's give those BC Lions all the credit in the world, because down very quickly was Andre Jones to limit Zeno's return to the 26-yard line. That's only a 10-yard return for the man who has really excited everybody in the CFL with his kickoff returns. Leads the league, as a matter of fact, in that category.
It's really a mistake there, Mark. Nate Perkowski is the backup defensive lineman. James Parker, number 40, should be in there. Nice linebacking crew. Glenn Jackson having just a great year.
Glenn has played so well for so long for the BC Lions that you kind of, forget to mention how great he is. Well, Watts did a masterful job to even get the ball away. He was finally looking for number 21 in that Ottawa scheme of things, Lester Brown, but the ball was beyond him.
Well, I can't believe Michael Gray didn't come up with the sack there, number 77, the rookie defensive tackle with the Lions. He seemed like he had JC all wrapped up, but couldn't make the play. Now they're trying to straighten things out in that Ottawa defensive backfield, because they've got to play that coverage a little bit tighter. That was too easy on that drive.
Ottawa has a 2nd and 10 at their own 26-yard line. Watson's pass is picked off by Kevin Konar at the Ottawa 35-yard line. It was a deflected pass, and that is one of the problems, of course. They list J.C. at 5'11", but I suspect he's closer to 5'10". He doesn't have the height to be able to get the ball over those defensive linemen when they get their hands in the air, and you'll see the result.
And Michael Gray, number 77, is the one who tips it. Kevin Konar in the right spot, and with a 7-0 lead, you sure don't want to turn the ball over to the number one team in the country in your own territory, but of course that's what Ottawa's done.
You can almost smell a blowout in this one if they go in to score from early.
The Waltz pass is complete to Keevan Jenkins. And what Ottawa did, they must do when this man touches the ball, and that's surround him. Al Washington was first there to make the tackle along with Rick Sovieta, numbers 17 and 75. But Jenkins gets into about the 26-yard line, which is very close to a first down.
And that's a good read by Roy DeWalt, because Ottawa blitzes about 17% of the time, so you know most of the time the linebackers are going to be dropping off deep. When they do that, you've got to dump it off to your backs and let them run with it.
And that's so unlike Ottawa teams of the past. They used to blitz constantly.
Sure is, you know, and when we heard those figures this morning, I couldn't believe it, because they used to blitz about 70% of the time, not 17.
On first down, DeWalt's going to go upstairs again, throws it over the middle, and it's complete to John Henry White at about the 20-yard line. Again, Al Washington, the middle linebacker, this time along with Tom Towns. Number 20 is there to bring him down. Towns has probably been the best linebacker in that Ottawa scheme of things, according to head coach Joe Moss. He said he's playing so well, I'm convinced he can play again next year. And they really only got him as a stopgap measure for this season.
Well, with 11 years in the league, 10 of them with the Edmonton Eskimos, he certainly has the experience.
The pickup was about 7 yards, so on 2nd and 3, Keevan Jenkins spins his way for a first down into the 15-yard line. Rick Sovieta finally grabbed him from behind and brought him down.
You know, that's only going to go in the books as a 4-yard run, but what a super move he made to initially get away from the tackle of Lloyd Lewis and pick up that first down.
There is no question about it that Keevan Jenkins is worth the price of admission. I mean, he is the kind of a player that every team looks to have because he is so exciting. It's 7-0, BC leading it, and we'll be back in just a moment. Please don't let it be one of those nights, because Ottawa's either in the game right away or they get blown out. I mean, thinking back to the Winnipeg game, the Edmonton game, you know, they can be wrapped pretty hard. Don Matthews has, well, I mean, the man was obviously born to coach football because he enjoys it so much, but he's in a very enjoyable place, too. The BC Lions are as professional an operation as any in this country.
Everybody's happy when you're winning.
Yep. So the Lions with a first down at the Ottawa 15-yard line. The Waltz pass is caught by Sandusky. Touchdown, British Columbia. JoJo Heath couldn't wrap him up.
Well, that's just too easy, Pat. You know, you've got to come up and challenge those receivers. When you get down to your own 15-yard line, I mean, you have to be a little aggressive. Now, we know that the corners, JoJo Heath and Lamont Meacham, like to lay off the receivers, but in this situation, you just can't do that. And this is far too easy for Jim Sandusky. He just turns it upfield and squeezes into the end zone.
Well, the jury was out on JoJo Heath as far as the Ottawa Football Club was concerned, and I think the jury may hand down a decision after this ball game if he doesn't play much better in the next 53 minutes than he has in the first 7.
Well, one more time, we're isolated on Jim Sandusky, and as I said before, when you're in the goal line area, you've got to come up and play bump and run and really challenge those guys. And heck, I wish I'd had a corner like that when I was playing. I might have scored a few more myself.
Well, it's 14-0 for the Lions, and now this is the critical part of the ball. I mean, you know, you can say this 1,000 times, but this is really critical for Ottawa. I mean, if they don't move the football, this thing, they may need another scoreboard.
Well, we've talked about the wind already as a factor in this first quarter, but the BC Lions are working into the wind, and Ottawa enjoys that advantage, and yet find themselves behind 14-0. BC, the good teams, take advantage of the turnovers, too, and it was that interception by Kevin Konar, of course, that led to that Sandusky touchdown.
27 is Catterbone, 26 is Zeno, and this kickoff does not go very deep. As a matter of fact, Chris Ziegler is the returner for Ottawa. He was one of the upbacks, and he takes it over the 30 to the 32-yard line. So it does show you just how severe the wind is. Now, the Ottawa Rough Riders with J.C. Watts at quarterback have only scored 9 touchdowns passing, and JC now has 9 interceptions as well. So those are not impressive stats. The Rough Riders begin from their 32-yard line. You just don't get by Glenn Jackson. He put his head down, so let's give JC credit for that. But Jackson just doesn't miss tackles.
Kevon Jenkins got wrapped in the back a little bit, so he's got a bit of a sore kidney, but outside of that, he's fine. And says that it hurts a little bit, but outside of that, just a normal bruise, he'll be back in action. No problem.
Well, we want to see Kevon because he has to be the early favorite for the Shenley Award as the top player in the country. He's off to a great start. The pickup by J.C. Watts was 4 yards, so it's 2nd and 6. The pass is caught by Wayman Aldridge, very close to the first down marker. This is a critical game for Wayman Aldridge as well.
Well, let's have a look. Just a quick post coming in, and he makes a good catch. Keith Gooch on the coverage tries to stop him in his tracks, but he gets a good spot, and Ottawa will pick up their initial first down of this first quarter.
So they spot the ball right at the first down marker, which is the 42-yard line. I mean, is there a hole in that secondary? If there is, I don't know where.
Well, there's not. A guy by the name of Larry Crawford is also around, and he'll be playing tonight as well.
J.C. Watts is dropped by Kevin Konar and his friends. Nick Hebler was in, too. Rick Klassen. We ran into Hebler and Klassen today. They are mountains, aren't they? They are big, big people. 6'3", 240 is Nick Hebler. Rick Klassen he's just a little guy at 6'1", 245.
You know, the thing about them all, Pat, though, in this BC club, and it's being built this way, they all have speed, good quickness.
That's one of the reasons why they picked up that sack. Such good coverage by that defensive secondary downfield. Mel Bird on Derek Zeno.
The loss was 10 yards. They throw the screen. Lester Brown couldn't maintain his balance, and consequently Ottawa will be punting as Brown goes down at about the 35-yard line. Mike Gray, who had such an unbelievable game, the contest we saw him in Hamilton.
That's right. That was, I believe, the opening game of the season, and if I'm not mistaken, he was the Pacific Western Star of the Week that week for his effort that game.
So Ken Clark, who I suspect is going to be a busy man tonight, stands at his own 20-yard line, and Darnell Clash is the only returner for the Lions.
Kenny's having a good year. Boy, he's a good guy. 12 years in professional football, 3rd with the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Clash moves up to his 33-yard line to take this one. A flag will come down, and we're going to have a clipping call against the Lions.
I believe it's Larry Crawford, number 34, and he really tried to pass up and not block Wayman Aldridge, but he caught just a piece of him. The referee made an excellent call.
He really did, because Aldridge was in a position where he was going to make the tackle, and he was thrown off balance. There's J.C. Watts and Joe Moss talking things over on the sideline, because they have got to move the football or this defense is going to be exhausted.
Illegal block. BC number 34. First down.
Let's talk a little bit about Larry Crawford. Of course, tried to catch on in the NFL, could not make it. There you see the illegal block. Just got enough of him to have it called, but he's back with the BC Lions. The two starters are going to be. They're all going to get some playing time tonight.
From the 25-yard line, the ball is turned over, and the Rough Riders have recovered it right at the 25. I don't believe that John Henry ever got the ball in his midsection. Let's take a look at it.
Looked like he wasn't really even expecting to get it. Well, sure he was, but just never able to hang on to the football, and see if we can pick up who made the recovery.
It was Michel Bourgeot, as spotter Bill Marsden points out, number 83 for the Rough Riders. And so Ottawa, desperately needing a break, get one and have possession at the BC 25-yard line. The pass is complete to Zeno, who was able to elude the first tackle by number 32, Andre Jones. and picks up about 4 yards before Darnell Clash does make the stop. There's Michel Bourgeot, who recovered that fumble of the Ottawa Rough Riders.
That's a long throw to pick up 4 yards here. J.C. Watson loading to Derek Zeno, who's really the safety valve in that run-and-shoot offense. Michel Bourgeot, who recovered that fumble, well, he was a territorial pick by the Rough Riders. They were able to get him in compensation when the old Montreal Alouettes signed Mike Murphy.
And this is Lester Brown. And Lester, with some slashing running, gets inside the 15 to about the 13-yard line, where Andre Jones brings him down. But the pickup is 7. He will have the first down.
Well, it seems like a lot of teams have given up on Lester Brown, but he's been able to surface and always seems to do a good job. One of the guys that I like. Had a nice hole opened up for him there, and the Ottawa Rough Riders are trying to take advantage of that fumble recovery and get on the scoreboard.
It is BC 14, Ottawa nothing, but the Rough Riders are starting to move a little. Pass goes incomplete, intending it for Wayman Aldridge, but it was Glenn Jackson who got his hand up.
You know, it's funny. They used to take Glenn Jackson out on passing situations and put in an extra defensive back, but he's played so well this year, they said, why do we bother? We don't take him out. We'll leave him in there. The SFU graduate makes a super play.
So Ottawa will have a 2nd and 10 at the BC 13-yard line. This is the part of the field that Ottawa has had problems with all year. Getting the ball into the end zone. J.C. Watts dives down to about the 5-yard line. He'll be short by a couple of yards. He simply could not get by Glenn Jackson. Let's take a look at him now. J.C. looked downfield, couldn't find anybody open. Look at Jackson fight off the block of Lester Brown and come up and make the stop. They spot the ball at the 6-yard line. So they are 3 yards short, and they are going for it on 3rd and 3. Lester Brown dives. I don't think he picked up a first down, but let's wait and see.
Well, BC Lion offense is halfway on the field. They don't think he did either.
Boy, it's tough to dive for 3 yards.
Especially when you're only about 5'9". Boy, they swarmed on him there, that whole BC defense. That's a tough place to pick up 3 yards on the ground against the #1 defense in the country.
Well, the Lions stopped them. And so a golden opportunity for the Ottawa Rough Riders goes for naught. And, you know, I would think some people would say, oh, well, I mean, on 3rd and 3, why wouldn't you kick the field goal? Joe Moss knows that if they're going to win this football game, they've got to score some touchdowns because it's a cinch BC is going to.
Well, the thing is, too, if you don't make it, sorry, Bill, I mean, you've got BC pinned in their own territory going against the wind. You've got to hope your defense comes up and plays tough now.
The ball throws and the pass is complete to Ron Robinson out over the 10 to about the 11-yard line. Tom Towns covered him there.
Would you not think, Leaf, that at the same time Joe realizes he's got to give that offense of his a little bit of confidence in that by maybe letting them go in that situation, if they can make it, he can boost that confidence because the offense has been the problem with the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Well, I agree with that point, that I also think that you're not going to beat BC by kicking field goals either.
That's a good point.
So Robinson comes up a couple of yards short, but BC at least has a little breathing room at their own 11-yard line. It's 2nd down, 2 yards to go for the first down. The Lions lead it 14-0. We are here in the first quarter at Lansdowne Park. John Henry White gets it to about the 12-yard line, and a flag is down. Ricky Barden came up and made the stop.
Let me tell you, Ralph Dixon, number 22, the defensive back on the short side of the field, is going to be called for offside. So regardless of whether they're short of the first down, they're going to pick it up anyway.
And there's the 5-yard penalty marched off.
Offside, Ottawa number 22. First down.
Well, it was Ralph Dixon, as Lee pointed out, who was offside on the play. So the Lions get a very important...
We are experiencing sound difficulties, which will be corrected in just a few moments.
The problems we are experiencing originate with the network. We are experiencing problems with the audio portion of our transmission. Please do not adjust your set.
They lead all of the CFL in quarterback sacks with 35. They feel they have 42, but because the CFL doesn't acknowledge half sacks, they have actually sacked the opposition quarterback 35 times. And they have 3 more tonight, so make it 38 on the season.
And I guarantee you they're going to be coming right here. Well, you can't see.
BC Lions and Ottawa's special teams, which have been really the best part of their operation since the start of this season, were able to contain him to a return of only about 7 yards to the 40. Darnell Flash, only in his second season with the BC Lions, but he has been an exciting individual.
Yeah, and he's a solid cornerback too. He can play that corner.
So Roy DeWalt, who has completed 7 of 10 for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns, now takes over with the ball at his own 39-yard line. Mervyn Fernandez. And Fernandez was able to slip away from JoJo Heath, but Rick Sovieta caught up with him from behind and made the stop after a pickup of just about 3 yards.
JoJo Heath read that play perfectly, though. He was really the one that forced it. Sovieta cleaned up on it.
Actually make it a 2-yard gain because they spot the ball at the 41-yard line. It's 2nd and 8. DeWalt's pass is complete to Kevan Jenkins. There's a flag down in the area where sometimes you get roughing penalties against the Ottawa Rough Riders, and that's what it's going to be. They roughed up Roy DeWalt.
Ottawa's really making some critical mistakes in this first half that's costing them. A holding penalty cost them a first down early in the game, and an interception by Kevin Konar. Now a roughing penalty when really the ball had gone is really hurting. That's an extra 15 yards that you just can't give BC.
Major foul, roughing the passer, Ottawa number 63, first down.
That's the newcomer Lloyd Lewis, number 63, who played all of the USFL season and is now playing back-to-back seasons here, starting at the left defensive end spot for Ottawa. Lloyd Lewis. There's Bernard Quarles, acquired by Ottawa from the Calgary Stampeders, and he may very well be in this ball game before much longer. JoJo Heath chased that one down. Mervyn Fernandez pulled up. Obviously, there was a little bit of misreading there on somebody's part, either DeWalt or Fernandez.
Well, they had the safety blitz coming with Ricky Barden, and Roy DeWalt read that and figured he had one-on-one out there with Mervyn. Went for the home run, but miscommunication, Pat, as you said. You know, if you're the Ottawa Rough Riders and you come into this game against the top team in the country, you've got to say to yourself, we have to play error-free football if we want a chance to win, and so far that just hasn't been the case.
So it's 2nd and 10 BC at the Ottawa 46. And DeWalt gets to about the 44, but there is a flag down in the Ottawa secondary.
Penalty is not applied. Okay, we got third down here.
So because DeWalt only picked up a couple of yards, it makes it 3rd and 8. Louis Pasaglia comes out onto the field.
Well, we have a situation as you look at the head coach, Don Matthews, where he's a little concerned because after 5 straight wins, they lost to Calgary. He said, people said, what's wrong with us after our slight win over Hamilton? He said, I was concerned. He said, the players had self-evaluation. And he said, versus Hamilton, I couldn't accept the way we played. So you know that Ottawa's in tough because BC feels they've got something to prove tonight.
Pasaglia's field goal is good. Just made it over the bar from 50 yards out. The BC Lions are out in front of the Ottawa Rough Riders 17-3, and we'll be back in just a moment. Well, as you take a look at the new quarterback for the Ottawa Rough Riders, Bernard Quarles, let me tell you that Louis Pasaglia's 50-yard successful field goal is not his longest of this season. He had one earlier in the year for 54 yards. But Bernard Quarles, this is not really surprising because Joe Moss told me yesterday, if JC doesn't get the job done early, I'm going to Quarles, who has a much better arm. So Ottawa starts from their own 35-yard line. Again, this one is batted down. by Ty Cruz, the middle linebacker, and we've got a flag down. We're going to have a roughing penalty against the BC Lions.
Yeah, Rick Klassen came in a little late, and he's the one that's going to get called. And I like this call because they've got to protect those quarterbacks, and the officials are desperately trying to do that.
Major foul, roughing the passer, BC number 90, first down.
Well, they called it on Rick Klassen, number 90.
Well, here you see Quarles has released the football, and Ty Cruz should have picked that off. You couldn't quite see the roughing call, but I guarantee you it took place.
Ottawa, with the benefit of that 15-yard penalty, now have possession at their own 50. Well, Quarles looked, there was nobody open, and he's dropped by Mike Gray, number 77, the right defensive tackle.
That BC front four is having a heck of a first half, really putting a lot of pressure on both Ottawa quarterbacks. And Mike Gray, a sack right there, and tipped the ball that Konar intercepted, so he's playing like we saw him back in Hamilton.
Mike had 10.5 sacks coming into this ball game. And he registers another one right there. The loss is only a yard, so make it 2nd and 11 Ottawa at their 49. And again, Quarles is dropped, and by guess who? Mike Gray. Second time in a row.
As Joe Mott says, the Lions play get the quarterback. That's their whole ball game, and boy, they've been getting them tonight.
Well, that's really the philosophy of Don Matthews. Aggressive, challenging type of defense, and of course he's got the guys that can do it. That's what it really takes. You've got to have a lot of team speed on defense, and that's their greatest asset.
I'll tell you, Mike Gray beat the block of a man considered to be one of the best blockers in the CFL, Jim Reed, and he just moved around him like he wasn't there. Ken Clark punting into the wind for the first time, and it doesn't make any difference to him. He booms another one. This is Clash. And Clash is dropped at about the 19-yard line. Wayman Aldridge, playing like he knows his job is on the line, and it may well be, was first down to make the tackle. 49 yards the boot and only a 2-yard return. Oh, what a game for you fans in BC next Friday. The Toronto Argonauts will be in there. The Argos have really suffered of late with the injury to Condredge Holloway. But you know they're off this week, and they will be fired up to meet the Lions in BC Place next Friday night.
Well, they've got a couple of new quarterbacks in on 21-day trials. Buddy Funk is one of them, and if either one of these guys pans out, you know they'll make some changes. Bob Obilovich, by the way, is here scouting the game.
I'll tell you, that was a pretty alert play by JoJo Heath, because that was very close to a lateral pass. Let's take a look at this. This is very, very close.
It sure is tough to tell from that camera angle, but
Trying to swing it out to Kevan Jenkins, but he got his fingertips on it. That was it. So it's 2nd and 10 BC, the ball at their 19-yard line. Lions lead it 17-3 with 9 minutes left to play here in the second quarter. Flag goes down, and so does DeWalt back at the 10-yard line. Lloyd Lewis with the sack for the Rough Riders. Actually, I think it was...
You watch, it's a good call. It was Lloyd Lewis. Watch number 63 on the left side of your screen come in. He puts the initial hit, takes Walt down, rips his helmet off, and then Michel Bourgeot comes in and pins him, makes sure he doesn't get up.
There was a marker down on the field, so let's wait and see now.
It's tough sometimes to stand in that pocket.
Offside, Ottawa. Holding, BC. So the difference, of course, is 5 yards. Ball is pushed back to the 14-yard line. They'll repeat second down. Second and 15, the Lions. DeWalt dropped the football because of the pressure by Lloyd Lewis. Once again, he just jerked the ball right out of his hands. But fortunately for BC, DeWalt was able to fall on it. Let's watch Lloyd Lewis, number 63.
That's a great job. He's working on number 61, Brian Illebrennen, for the second play in a row, able to get by him and come up with the big play, stripping the ball loose, and this Ottawa defense seems a little more charged up in the second quarter.
Derek Zeno, who is second only to Darnell Clash of BC in punt returns, is back to return this one for Ottawa. Has to chase it down at the BC 53. The flag is down as Zeno gets inside the 40 to about the 38-yard line. And we'll find out what the penalty marker is about when we come back. The Lions are leading at 17-3, and we'll return in a moment. Ottawa clipping was called against Mike McIntyre, and so the ball is back at the Ottawa 50 instead of being inside the BC 40. There's a look at the penalty situation. Ottawa 5 for 50, the Lions 3 for 35. And the Ottawa penalties have really been critical because it eliminated their first offensive play. It is cut back here on a big return by Derek Zeno, but Ottawa is at their own 50. With a first down, Bernard Quarles with the handoff to Lester Brown. Lester crosses midfield into BC territory before Ty Cruz, number 91, the middle linebacker, is there to bring him down.
Lester Brown had that 137-yard game against the BC Lions, or rather against the Toronto Argonauts in the last game for the Ottawa Rough Riders. So we asked Joe Moss about the rushing, if he was going to do a lot more running with Lester. He said, well, he said, what Lester did against Toronto, he said, that may be more running we do the whole rest of the year.
Bernard Quarles ran that time, hoping to pick up the first down before Mike Gray made the tackle. Now, if they spot it right at the 50, it'll be a first down for Ottawa.
Well, he just did a great job to get away from Kevin Konar initially and even have a shot at picking up the first down. They're going to measure.
If Bernard Quarles can play well for the rest of this ball game, he's going to be the Ottawa starter next week.
He's a good size, 6'1", 205 from the University of Hawaii. And as you saw right there, he did get that extra inch and pick up the first down.
Hasn't played very much this season, has one interception and one touchdown pass. But Joe Moss, the man you see on your screen right now, feels that his arm is so much better than JC's that he may have to go with him. This is Lester Brown again. And Lester was hoping to slide to the outside, but Ty Cruz, the middle linebacker, had him and just wouldn't let him get away.
Well, in that 4-3 defense, that's what you want your middle linebacker to do. He's the guy that's got to make those plays, and he read it perfectly. When Lester slashed it to the outside, Ty Cruz was there immediately, made the stop.
7 minutes, 5 seconds left to play in the first half. The BC Lions put a couple of impressive drives together. They resulted in touchdown passes to Jim Sandusky. As you look at J.C. Watts on the sidelines,
he's been a disappointment this year.
This is Wayman Aldridge. Aldridge did an excellent job following his blocks, picks up the first down for Ottawa, and gets to the BC 37 before Melvin Bird, number 10, was there to bring him down.
Well, let's have a close look at Wayman Aldridge. It's the quick screen to the wide receiver. Watch number 50, Kevin Powell, get out. He gets a block. Mike Hamelick out in front, and that's a really well-executed offensive play.
Mel Bird just slightly shaken up on the play, so that means that Larry Crawford will come in there. Aldridge this evening has caught 4 passes for 56 yards.
Yeah, he's looked good. He's looked good on special teams, too. Made a couple of tackles, and it's tough to see Mel Bird come out of the ball game, but you sure don't hurt yourself when you can put a guy like Larry Crawford in to replace him.
Well, you talk about depth, though.
Oh.
I mean, they are just loaded at every position.
Well, the guys that they have in the reserve list are pretty awesome, too.
Flag is down. Quarles was thrown to the turf, but they will rule that he was in the grasp of the defender, and a holding penalty is also going to be charged against Ottawa, but the Lions will decline it. Nick Hebler was there to make the stop.
Well, time and time again, BC just comes up with the big plays on defense.
Holding, Ottawa number 50, decline, second down.
It's Kevin Powell once again, number 50.
He's at the top of your screen, left-hand side. Let's have a look. He's working against Glenn Jackson on the blitz, and you can't see the holding call, but really didn't make much difference, as once again that BC front four puts a lot of pressure on the Ottawa quarterbacks.
Well, you talk about pressure. That's the 6th sack already, and we still have 6 minutes left to play in the first half.
Well, these guys like Nick Hebler and Rick Klassen, they've just got great desire to want to get to the quarterback.
Quarles' pass is complete to Mark Barousse. And Barousse fumbles the football. The Lions recover it. Darnell Clash who's always around the ball in any event, is there to make the recovery for the Lions.
Well, there you see the disappointment on the face of head coach Joe Moss. He can't believe it, and they set up a pretty good play here to the slot back Mark Barus. At least they put themselves into field goal range with this, but he coughs it up, and Darnell Clash very alert as he comes up for the recovery. But that cost them a shot at 3 points. You know, they weren't going to pick up the first down, but
you made a point earlier, and you're so right. For Ottawa to win this football game, they cannot make mistakes, but they have made some, and as a result, they trail by 14 points. DeWalt going deep for John Pankratz. He makes the catch inside the Ottawa 30 to the 28-yard line. But there is a penalty marker on the field. Gee, DeWalt threw that ball nicely, though.
That was a great play, too. You know, they faked the quick screen to Mervyn Fernandez and just wheeled Pankratz up the field. Unfortunately, it's going to be called back, but just a variation off that quick screen to the wide receiver. Very effective.
Holding, BC number 54, first down repeated.
Glenn Leonard, the right guard, number 54. And there's a look at Mel Bird being attended to on the sidelines.
It's the left arm. As a matter of fact, it's the elbow, and they're just giving a little extra protection, putting some tape on. Mel will be going back in action, so it is not serious.
Thank you, Bill Stevenson. It's first down and 20 for the Lions at their own 28. Now the screen is set up for John Henry White. And John Henry rambles very close to the first down marker at about the 48-yard line before Ricky Barden was there to bring him down.
You talk about execution on offense. They faked the trap to Keevan Jenkins and then set up a screen. Roy DeWalt really running that team efficiently.
And now the Ottawa Rough Rider offense trying to devise a scheme to keep those big defensive linemen of the BC Lions out of the face of the Ottawa quarterback. Bob Swift, former great player in the CFL with Toronto, Winnipeg, BC.
Started out as a fullback, Pat, with these BC Lions, and he was a pretty good one.
He certainly was. It's second down and inches. DeWalt keeps it himself, has the first down as he gets to about the 49-yard line.
Well, you know you're getting offensive production when you can have a 1st and 20 and pick it up as easily as they did.
But, you know, the entire BC Lion operation is first rate. I mean, Bobby Ackles and his people in BC run a truly professional operation. Their practice facilities are great.
Yeah, that's a great complex they put together out at Surrey, and you know, that rubs off on the players. They've got a lot of pride in the organization, and they really feel good about being a BC Lion.
DeWalt's pass was a little bit low, and so it goes incomplete.
Talking about Bobby Ackles, as you two were, who is the fine general manager of the BC Lions, you know, Bobby passed in total number of games as the general manager for the BC Lions, the old record held by Herb Capozzi, who's a friend of all of ours, of course. 161 games against Hamilton, and this is his 162nd game as far as the general manager of the BC Lions is concerned for Bobby. His 10th year as the GM, and he certainly deserves congratulations for a fine job.
He sure does. A flag is down. DeWalt's pass goes incomplete. It was trapped at about the 53-yard line by Pankratz. But there is a penalty marker back at the line of scrimmage, holding against BC.
See a lot of holding calls tonight. Ronnie Robinson, the injured BC Lion receiver, didn't really see what happened to him, but seems like he's in a lot of pain. But once again,
BC number 65, decline, third down.
Gerald Roper, number 65, the left guard, is called for holding, but Ottawa declines it. And that will set up a 3rd and 10.
You know that the BC Lions are starting balloting for an all-time all-star team of the BC club since they first started in 1954. Boy, that brings back a flood of memories to me when you start thinking of the great players and you start looking at the great ones that'll be in Saskatchewan tonight. As a matter of fact, for the full weekend, they have Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. We're doing that game Sunday afternoon, but the all-time Rough Rider team is on hand for that one. And Leaf, I know you're looking forward to it.
Hey, I can't wait to get out there. There's going to be a lot of good friends and camaraderie take place this weekend in Regina, and we're lucky we're going to be out there televising that game. And the of course, we're going to show you that on Sunday afternoon, the all-time Rough Rider team. And I don't think we'd be giving away any secrets if we said that Ron Lancaster had a good shot at being the quarterback.
George Reed.
Yeah.
But you know what I was going to say about that Winnipeg, Saskatchewan? It really is one of the great rivalries in the CFL.
Boy, I sure remember playing those Labor Day games, and whenever Winnipeg came to town on that September Sunday, it always made for a great game, and I don't think this one's going to be any different because the Saskatchewan Rough Riders looked so good in their last win, and of course, Winnipeg at 5-2 is playing well.
They'll probably have their all-time record crowd. The place is completely sold out and has been for a week.
Yeah, that's right.
Basaglia's punt bounces in front of Zeno, who takes it at the 14-yard line. Catterbone throws the block for him, but Zeno is only able to get out over the 25 to about the 26 or 27-yard line. So the BC Lions continue to lead the Ottawa Rough Riders 17-3 with 3:09 left to play in the first half. We'll be back in a moment.
On the thigh with a helmet, so he's put an extra pad on. He says it just hurts a little bit, and now he's running it off, and he'll be going back in action.
Bernard Quarles was forced to keep the ball himself, and by the time he elected to run it, he gets back to the line of scrimmage no further. Quarles starting his third season in pro football. As Leaf mentioned, he's from the University of Hawaii. He's 25 years of age. But the big thing that he's got over JC, he has two big things, really. His height at 6'1", and the fact that he's got a real gun.
He was never able to use that effectively, though, Pat, with the Calgary Stampeders, and they finally gave up on it.
Yeah, that's quite true. Quarterbacks are tough to come by. He flicks it out there to Derek Zeno, and Zeno broke a tackle and got to the 35-yard line, which is going to leave him a couple of yards short. Darnell Clash was there to bring him down.
You know, I really question the strategy here that Ottawa's used in the first half. You get second and long, it's pretty tough to swing the ball out and have a guy pick up 10 yards against a defense like BC. Earlier, they neglected to go to the end zone on a second and goal play, and this is tough when you ask a guy to pick up 10 yards and beat a couple of defensive backs at the same time. They almost made it, though.
Not too many people have played in more leagues than Kenny Clark, the CFL, the World Football League with Portland, the National Football League with Los Angeles.
Yeah, he punted in a Super Bowl against Pittsburgh Steelers.
This is Darnell Clash from his 33-yard line. And Darnell gets out to about the 40 or 41. Demir Dupin and Mike Hamiluk were down to make the tackle for Ottawa.
Show you how valuable a punter can be to a ball club, though. Joe Moss is so high on Clark. He says not only as a punter, he's one of our top players, but he said he is such a great player in the dressing room and on the bench. He can't say enough of Kenny Clark, as a matter of fact.
Well, Bill, I can attest to that because he was a teammate of mine in Hamilton, and what Joe Moss is saying when he talks about Ken Clark's being valuable, he just keeps the guys loose. He's a comedian, and he's the prankster on the club, and that's really important to have a guy like that to keep the young guys loose, not let them get too uptight.
BC starts from their 41. The handoff goes to Keevan Jenkins. And Keevan did a pretty good job to get the ball over the 45 to about the 48-yard line for a pickup of very close to 7 before he ran into Lloyd Lewis, number 63, and Tom Towns, number 20.
In behind the big block of 61, Brian Illebrin, but not much there. Keevan cuts it back, and Lloyd Lewis, who's been in a lot of action here in the first half, was in on that play as well.
Well, there's a look at Mike Hamiluk. Mike was shaken up on that last play again. Ronnie Robinson is down. But I was going to say that if Hamiluk is shaken up, Ottawa really is in kind of a bind because the regular center, Peter Vandenbos, is out for at least 4 weeks. And if Hamiluk is injured, they've got a problem. Following tonight's game, the Carling O'Keefe Sports Game Stars will receive a Royal Canadian Mint 1-ounce gold coin presented by Kodak, makers of the new 8mm Codavision video systems featuring the portable all-in-one camera and recorder from Kodak.
Well, talking about cameras, Peter Vandenbos, who had knee surgery, is up in the booth with us tonight taking some pictures of both offensive and defensive lines, and I got a feeling he's probably a better offensive center than a cameraman.
Peter cannot hear what we're saying, so he's got the camera focused again. Not the one that you're seeing the picture of Don Matthews. but his own. So as Ron Robinson leaves the field of play, the BC Lions wait for the referee's whistle to signal time is back in. It's second down, 3 yards to go. The toss goes to Keevan Jenkins. And he's like a ghost. He slips through there. You can't believe how he can get by the tacklers. And he ends up at the Ottawa 50-yard line for another first down for the BC Lions.
Now, John Henry White, his blocking partner, got out in front and does a good job. But watch the explosion at the end of this run. He just cuts up through that hole, puts the shoulders down, and picks up the necessary yards. You know, he's what coaches say, a guy who runs a lot tougher than his size. He was running like a 220-pounder right there.
And when you talk about his size, they claim he's 5'10 and 180. But there's suspicion that he might not be quite 5'10.
That's those media book figures every year. That
I don't think he's much bigger than you, Pat.
I used to be
about 5'10 then.
I mean in height.
This is Keevan Jenkins again. And Jenkins is inside the 50 to about the 47 or 48-yard line. Ottawa did a pretty good job of closing it down. Al Washington was there. Let's go to Bill Stevenson.
They report on Mike Hamelick, center for the Ottawa Rough Riders, as he bruised the elbow, and he will be able to go in and play center. As you pointed out, Pat, without Hamelick, they're in trouble for a backup man, but they're not going to need one. Hamelick will be able to return.
It's second down, 8 yards to go. Lions, the ball at the Ottawa 48. BC out in front, 17-3 as we wind down the first half. Sandusky made a terrific adjustment to the football. He turned both ways and then finally gathered it in inside the 25-yard line.
Wow, this is something you just don't teach, Pat. You're absolutely right. He does everything possible to make this catch, looking over the outside shoulder, and DeWalt had to throw it into a hole, into an area between the defensive backs, and he comes up with the outstanding play. Already 2 touchdowns in this first half. Another great catch.
And picks up 24 yards for the Lions. The injured BC player is Glenn Leonard, the right guard.
You know, that play really demonstrates the abilities of Roy DeWalt. He knew he had to throw it into that one area to have a chance to make the completion. He threw it in, and he knew that Sandusky was the kind of receiver that could make that adjustment.
And, you know, you talk about Sandusky. He's caught 4 passes tonight for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, and when we're thinking of our Carling O'Keefe game stars, he certainly is going to get a lot of consideration. And this Monday in Calgary, there's another game that we talk about rivalries. Edmonton and Calgary, another great rivalry. You know, a lot of people in the Toronto area think that it's only Toronto and Hamilton that have rivalries. Winnipeg, Regina, Saskatchewan, that's a rivalry. This one is another great one. Ottawa and Montreal, the same thing. And that, of course, is what makes the CFL so interesting.
Well, if Joe Barnes can get his form back from that big upset win in BC Place a few weeks ago, it's going to be some ball game. Matt Dunnigan having a great year rushing with the football. That's Bob Staley. Kevin Powell trying to organize things with Nick Benjamin on the sidelines. Get those blocking assignments down, Pat.
The ball is at the 25-yard line. First down, Lions. DeWalt fires it out there for Fernandez, who tried to make a one-handed catch, but was unable to do so.
Ron Robinson says he got a dirty shot as far as he was concerned from Ricky Barton. He says it was a cheap shot. He said, I wasn't expecting it or looking for it. He said, I should have known better. And so he's had to put some ice on that thigh, and he says we'll have the doctor have a look at it at halftime. I'm not sure if I'll be able to come back in the second half or not. We'll have to wait and see.
Halftime will be 1 minute and 13 seconds from now. Second down, BC. The ball at the Ottawa 24. That one was very nearly picked off by Ricky Barton.
Really made an excellent play, breaking on that football, read the pattern, and stopped the completion.
Well, at halftime tonight, we'll take you around the CFL, show you what's happening. The Pacific Western Airlines CFL Players of the Week. And Leaf and I will be around with the highlights of this first half, and they will feature many of the BC Lions plays.
How come they don't put your name in there with me?
The name is too fat. So Louis Pisaglia will try the 31-yard field goal, and it's wide. And Ricky Barton ends up conceding the single point. That comes with 1 minute and 3 seconds left to play in the half. The BC Lions now lead Ottawa 18-3. Isn't football a funny game, though? I mean, he lines up for a 50-yard field goal, pumps it right through. Here's a 30-yarder, and, you know, just misses. So Ottawa has one last shot at it here, trailing by 15 points. They've got an excellent crowd here at Lansdowne Park this evening, too, about 24,000. This is Lester Brown. And Lester tried to get to the outside, but it was Darnell Clash who cut the legs out from under him. You know, you hate to keep praising and praising one operation, but the BC Lions, I mean, you look at their club and you say, they have to be the odds-on favorite to win it all.
No question about it. You know, when you prepare for a team, you always look at some area that you might try and exploit. And really, there's no soft area on this club that you can say, well, we're going to go after this area.
Lester Brown was trying to get to the 45, only gets to about the 43 before Mike Gray, number 77, was there to make the tackle. And so with 42 seconds left, they're about a yard short.
Oh, here's a guy who's had a great first half. Number 77, Michael Gray, makes the play and prevents the Ottawa Rough Riders from picking up that first down. And with 42 seconds left, also prevents them from going down for any more points in this half.
Well, they're going to punt the football. Some of the fans weren't too happy about that, but, you know, they're still in the game, trailing by 15 points. You don't want to give BC the ball here in Ottawa territory. Another good punt by Clark. Misses Clash from his 25-yard line. Mike Hamelick was there to grab him around the legs as he got to the 34. And so with just 20 seconds left on the clock, Roy DeWalt and that BC offense comes out once again. You know, apart from those back-to-back touchdowns that they scored within about 3 or 4 minutes of each other, Ottawa's done a pretty good job in shutting down the line.
Oh, they sure have. Well, that's what you always hope when you're playing against that really good team, that your defense plays well and gives you a shot to stay in the game, and the Ottawa defense has done that.
DeWalt's throw was very nearly picked off by number 22, Ralph Dixon.
I think Roy DeWalt was trying to throw that thing away, and he didn't see Ralph Dixon along the sidelines there, and he almost came up with the interception. What a play that would have been. There it is. I think he's just trying to get it out of bounds, but Ralph Dixon almost came up with it. Ralph's been around a few teams. Started with Edmonton, went to Toronto, and then, of course, came to the Ottawa Rough Riders in the preseason.
Has a couple of interceptions this year. Was trying for number 3 there. 14 seconds left on the clock. And they run the little draw play to Keevan Jenkins, who gets out to the 42, 43-yard line with 10 seconds left. They won't have to punt here because the clock will start the moment the referee walks away from the ball.
Well, I think Ottawa can call a timeout and make them punt, and which they have exactly done.
Yeah.
That's a good move by Joe Moss.
Well, sure. He's hoping that maybe Zeno can return one all the way.
Or they're going to put 11 guys up there and block it.
Except I noticed the Catterbone is back with him.
You know, it seems like every year a guy comes into the league that electrifies everybody with punt returns and so forth. We saw Darnell Clash do that last year for BC as well as this year. Now it's number 26, Derek Zeno for the Ottawa Rough Riders, who's provided that. Rufus Crawford had the big year in Hamilton last year with setting a new CFL total yardage record.
Clash is the leading punt returner in the CFL this season, but right behind him is Derek Zeno. Coming into the game, it was 526 yards for Clash, 431 for Zeno, but the number of returns, there was great discrepancy there. Clash had returned 50, and Zeno just 34. Basaglia's best boot of the ball game sends Zeno back to his 10-yard line. And he runs with reckless abandon over the 25 to the 26-yard line on what should be the final play of that first half. Joe Moss is out on the field now. He wants to talk to referee Bud Ulrich, but Bud is having no part of that. He just runs off the field the opposite direction.
I don't blame him.
Neither do I. So the BC Lions will take an 18-3 lead into the locker room. That's the score here at halftime as we go to Bill Stevenson.
The man who's made the excitement as far as the offense is concerned is Jim Sandusky. Jim, you've got touchdowns number 4 and 5 tonight. That just puts you 2 behind, as a matter of fact, Merv Fernandez.
Yeah, it's a great privilege, and thank the Lord for everything he's given me. And, you know, tonight they've gave us the outside, and we're taking advantage of it.
Is that how those 2 touchdowns came about, strictly outside plays?
Well, the first one definitely did, and the second one was just designed to be just a quick hitting play, you know, to get close to the goal line and have our big team run it in. But I was fortunate enough to get in there and score.
Jim, do you feel a little heat on you, not just you, but the entire offense, because of the fact that you haven't been generating as much offense as the fans expected you to in the last 2 games especially?
You know, we've been in a slump, definite slump these last 2 games, and we gathered ourselves this last week in practice and really worked hard and got back to basics and just worked hard and just made it a goal to go out here and make every drive successful.
Do you have team meetings? Does the offense get together and discuss it? In other words, what's wrong?
Oh, definitely. You know, we see our mistakes, and a lot of it's been a lack of hustle, just real desire to really go out there and hit and play football.
Jim, after a disappointing year last year when you had the injury and everything, this is your year. You're coming along well, and you must be quite pleased with it.
It feels really good. After last year, I came out, you know, really disappointed and worked hard really in the off season, and came into camp, and everything I worked hard for has been paying off.
You must have somebody you'd like to say hello to.
Yeah, my wife's grandmother's having surgery, and I'd like to wish her the best of luck, and hi to Mom and Dad and everybody back home in Othello.
All right, Jim Sandusky, thank you very much. So with the score at the present time, 18 for the BC Lions and 3 for the Ottawa Rough Riders, this is CTV's Friday Night Football.
Welcome to Carling O'Keefe Sports, the CFL this week.
Good evening, everyone. Something a little different tonight on the CFL this week. This long weekend marks the halfway point of the regular season. Everyone will have played 8 games. So what we're going to do this evening is check on how some of the individual races are shaping up.
You can't win if you don't score, and Winnipeg's Trevor Kennard has accounted for more points than any other individual in the Canadian Football League, booting a total of 86 points. Running the ball has come back in fashion. BC's Keevan Jenkins leads in yards gained along the ground, 684 for a 6.6-yard average and 6 touchdowns. The leading passer is Roy DeWalt of the BC Lions. He has earned a passing rating of 97.2. That is based on percentage of completions, yards gained, touchdowns, and interceptions. The league's leading receivers, Saskatchewan's Craig Ellis, running back, leads with most receptions, 55, but leading in total yardage is DeWalt's favorite target, Swervin Mervin Fernandez. This is good for 90 yards, his longest. He has racked up 724 in all. Winnipeg's Willard Reeves lays claim to the longest run from scrimmage in the 1985 season, number 38, August the 8th against Ottawa. Reeves rambles 68 yards and goes for the touchdown. And then just 2 days later, Joe Pow is throwing against the Tiger Cats, and Paul Bennett steps into the ball at the Hamilton 1-yard line. He goes all the way back to score. This is the longest interception return so far this year, 109 yards. Coming up in the CFL this weekend, Sunday on CTV, Winnipeg is at Saskatchewan. Then on Holiday Monday, also on CTV, Edmonton at Calgary, and rounding out this weekend, Montreal at Hamilton, also on Monday. Next week, CTV Friday Nighter has the Argonauts in BC. This has been Carling O'Keefe Sports, the CFL this week. The Pacific Western Airlines Stars of the Week are next. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. 3 touchdowns. Lineman star John Sturdivant was impressive in plugging up the running lanes and pressuring Calgary's Joe Barnes in a convincing Blue Bomber victory. Pacific Western Airlines brings you the Stars of the Week in the CFL. Tonight, our CTV program presents Shenley Award winner and defensive star Ben Zambiazzi of the Tiger Cats. Number 31 played inspired football with a fumble recovery and an interception, slashing to the BC offense like a...
is dedicated towards ongoing training and fitness. Hi, I'm John Bonk of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Like professional athletes, the athletes involved in Special Olympics train throughout the year so that they can properly condition themselves prior to competition. Show us your support and contact the local Special Olympics chapter in your community.
This message brought to you by the Canadian Football.
Being picked for the BC Lions, I was thinking about Anna Stukas, the man who started football in BC in 1954. I know that Stu could have a lot of great selections. Stu, people like Arnie Weinmeister, Willie Fleming, Tom Brown, they got to be automatic selections. How about Norm Fieldgate? We used to call him the Mouse before he was a respected businessman. But it's going to be great thinking about all of these great performers for the Lions over the years and the old-time Lions team. All right, Pat.
Well, Derek Zeno took the second half kickoff for the Rough Riders, got it to the 34-yard line, and so that's where they will begin. And Bernard Quarles comes back out to quarterback the Rough Riders. J.C. Watts started. Was very ineffective, really, and Joe Moss didn't hesitate. He went right to Bernard Quarles. And if Quarles can do anything in this second half, I suspect he's going to be the Ottawa starting quarterback. This is Lester Brown. Lester had trouble getting a hold of the football, but when he did, he was able to run it out to the 40 for a pickup of about 6 yards. Kevin Konar, number 31, was there to bring him down.
Well, trying to get Lester Brown some running room here. Juggled it a little bit, but he does pick up some pretty good yardage. But, you know, Pat, you made an interesting point in our highlight segment. You said Ottawa's defense really has kept them in the game, and our statistician, Bobby Layton, points out that of their 219 yards in total offense, BC got 140 in the first quarter, and then Ottawa shut them down only 79, so they have done a good job.
And there's a pretty good job by that BC Lion defense, too, because Lester Brown was going looking for a first down, but he never got it. He's short by a couple of yards. Rick Klassen and Nick Hebler just shut down that side of the BC defense. And so Bernard Quarles in the offensive unit leaves. Kenny Clark is back into punt. That's 5 of them already, but averaging 47 yards, which is very close to his season average. You know, it's not a very nice night for the latter part of August, but it's a perfect night to play football. The players have got to enjoy it. Flag is down. Darnell Clash on the run at the 26. Uh-oh. And Clash with a brilliant return is out over the 50 to about the 53-yard line before Bob Stephen, number 56, was there to bring him down. But there was a marker on the field. It was against the BC Lions. Ottawa will have a first down.
Yeah, I think number 18, Keith Gooch, jumped the gun, and Ottawa's going to get a first down out of this. We'll wait for Bud Ulrich to tell us, but they are going to pick up a first down.
Outside, BC number 18, first down.
Well, as Leaf pointed out, it is Keith Gooch, number 18, offside. Ottawa keeps the football.
Hey, that's a nice break to start the third quarter. Couldn't pick it up without the penalty, but let's see if Ottawa and Bernard Quarles can take advantage of that.
I'll tell you what's nice from an Ottawa point of view. Instead of BC having the ball at the 51, they have it at their own 46. And Lester Brown picks up a couple of yards before Darnell Clash is there to bring him down.
Boy, he made some kind of play there. Fought off the block of Mike Catterbone, the wide receiver, and then just stuffed Lester right in his tracks, and he was only able to pick up about 3 yards.
But sooner or later, you've got to get the ball down the field in the air. And let's see if Ottawa can do it right now. They are 2nd and 7 at their own 49-yard line.
And they're all coming, too.
Well, Bernard dodged about 5 bullets, but he couldn't dodge Rick Klassen, who was there to drop. That's the 7th sack of the evening for the BC Lions defense.
You know, it's interesting. A lot of quarterbacks, when they see and feel that blitz coming, they're thinking, great, I got 1-and-1 downfield. I'm going to have to pick out the right guy and get it to him. I think with the BC defense coming at you, all the quarterback's thinking about is how fast can I try and get away from this, and he doesn't even have time to think about throwing downfield.
The Ottawa offensive unit has given up 31 sacks this season, so and 7 more tonight for a total of 38. 31 coming into the game and then 7 more tonight. Oh, what a punt by Ken Clark. Sandusky is all the way back to his 4-yard line. And Sandusky with a very good return up over the 20 to the 24 before he runs into Jim Reed. And when we come back, the Lions will have the football. They lead the Rough Riders 18-3. Eliminate the awarding of a single point except on converts. If you think they should eliminate it, dial 1-900-720-3720. If you don't think that they should eliminate it, vote no. 1-900-720-4720. There is a 50-cent service charge.
I like our question last week. Should there be a 10th team? 96% said yes. No indecisiveness there at all.
BC starts from their 24-yard line. Kevan Jenkins gets to the 25, not much further. He was covered by Al Washington after Greg Marshall, 66, had made the tackle.
Pat, Glenn Leonhardt, offensive guard, is not in the lineup now. He was hit just before the end of the first half and knocked a little dizzy, and so they're going to rest him for a bit before they put him back in action.
Take a look and see who's in there, Leif. I believe it's number 69, Flowers. DeWalt under pressure fires complete to John Pankratz at the 35, and that'll be a BC Lion first down. DeWalt just drilled it in there. And Pankratz, the graduate from Simon Fraser, makes his first catch of the evening, his 24th of the season.
Well, Roy DeWalt gets the excellent protection there, and in for Glenn Leonhardt is number 69, Jamie Buis. But they did a good job giving him lots of time to throw, and Roy DeWalt did a good job.
Catch is made by Mervyn Fernandez, and they rule that he was inbounds up at about the 43-yard line. Lamont Meacham knocked him out of bounds at that point.
Kind of a slow play to develop, but it looked like Fernandez wasn't sure the ball was going to be even coming to him, and by the time he turned around, Roy DeWalt gunned it in there for about a 7-yard gain.
So it's second down, about 3 yards to go, Lions. And this is the way they started their 2 touchdown marches. They just picked, and then finally Sandusky was in the end zone. This is Kevan Jenkins. And Kevan had no place to go. Ricky Barton dove through the air to hop on his back and help out on the tackle. Kevan had to get to the 45-yard line. Now they're marking it just short.
Kevan commented to me, he says, they're keying on me, and he says, I got a feeling this is going to be a very, very tough night. And it has been tough running for him thus far.
Well, the Lions are protecting a 15-point lead. And on third and about a half a yard to go, they've got Louis Pasaglia back in punt formation. So obviously they don't think they've got this game won yet. They're not going to take any chances. Good punt by Louis. Zeno from his 23-yard line. And so when we come back, the Ottawa Rough Riders are going to have possession at their 30. They trail it 18-3, and we will be back in just a moment. CFL Concords will be in Hamilton's Ivor Wynne Stadium on Monday evening at 7 o'clock to play the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Very important game for the Concords, who at the moment lead the Ottawa Rough Riders by just 2 points. And Montreal really seems to be coming on week after week as Turner Gill continues to improve. Joe Moss is hoping that his offense can improve in this second half. They only have 3 points, but they're in the ball game, trailing by 15 as they start from their 30-yard line. Quarles, the screen to Mike Catterbone, read very nicely by Darnell Flash. There was no place for Catterbone to go. Flash was on him immediately.
Yeah, he's had himself a heck of a football game. As soon as he sees Catterbone stop, he's up on him so fast, no chance for that play to develop. You're hoping that a blocker could come out and pick off the cornerback initially, but no way. Darnell Flash is too far, and he's too smart.
Well, the loss is very close to 5 yards, so make it 2nd and 15, Ottawa back at their 25.
Oh, it's amazing way BC has replaced people. They lost Kerry Parker, who was an all-star, and they come up with Darnell Flash, who was definitely going to be an all-star.
Quarles puts it downfield for Derek Zeno, but he overthrew him.
Pat, you alluded to the fact that we're probably going to see some players changes made in this Ottawa Rough Rider Club. A few more as the movement continues. Joe Moss trying to strengthen it, but it was interesting. I thought that Bobby Ackle said he has never seen so much talent coming free out of the U.S. as it is this year. He says more than at any previous time during his tenure as the general manager of the Lions.
That's right, and I asked him if he was interested. He said, we're not interested in replacing people for this year. We might look at some, who we might sign for next year, but we're not going to tamper with this lineup. Clark's boot bounces to Clash and bounces by him. At the 22-yard line is where he finally picks it up. And then he is upended as he crosses the 30 to about the 32. Wayman Aldridge was down to pull the legs out from under him. A 64-yard boot with the roll for Ken Clark and an 11-yard return for Darnell Clash. The BC Lions are at home next Friday night to the Toronto Argonauts. A preview of the Grey Cup game 2 years ago.
1983.
So the Lions begin from their 33. Roy DeWalt faked the handoff to Kevan Jenkins. He should have given it to him because he was dropped by Michel Bourgeot, the defensive tackle, number 83. Bourgeot was an Ottawa boy who went to Boise State.
It's a play they want to fake it and then set up the screen to John Henry White, but just never got the play developed. But, Bill, you make an interesting point about the caliber of player that's available right now, and I think quite simply with the emergence a few years ago of the USFL, a lot more players were being exposed to pro football, and some sleepers that you used to have became apparent in the USFL, and there's just a lot more talent that's been seen.
The pass is caught by Mervyn Fernandez. It was a bullet. I mean, it was out there on a line, and Fernandez made a fine catch in front of Ralph Dixon to move the ball to the Ottawa 50-yard line. A 30-yard pickup. Watch this bullet by Roy DeWalt. Zingo.
And that's a great catch. Fernandez twisting around and extending himself and comes up with a fingertip catch. But Roy DeWalt at 6'2" and 210 pounds has been working on the weight. He's a strong guy. I mean, he can throw that pill a long way.
47 receptions for Mervyn Fernandez on the year now. DeWalt's pass intended for Ron Robinson goes incomplete. He couldn't bring it down. It was Tom Towns who was all over him. Robinson has the fewest catches of this receiving corps. For instance, coming into this ball game, he had 19. Pankratz at 23. Sandusky at 26. Fernandez at 43. Roy DeWalt has completed 14 of 25 passes tonight for 232 yards and 2 touchdowns, both to Jim Sandusky. On the draw, Ottawa reads it perfectly, and it goes nowhere as John Henry White was tackled by Lloyd Lewis the moment he got the football. Well, let's say some good things about this Ottawa Rough Rider defense because they have done an excellent job against what everybody regards the best offense in the league.
Well, they've had some good play from their front four, and Lloyd Lewis, Greg Marshall at the ends, Michel Bourgeot and Ron Engelson are the tackles, and those 4 guys have done a pretty good job controlling that offensive line of the BC Lions.
Louis averaging 43 yards tonight. Oh, this is a good punt into the wind. And this is Derek Zeno from his 5-yard line. Nowhere to go. The coverage team that the BC Lions have shown Ottawa tonight is the toughest that Ottawa's run into all season. BC leads at 18-3. We'll be back in just a moment.
He hasn't had a heck of a lot of time to throw. That front four of the BC Lions is really dominated.
The wind has died down a little bit.
You see Nick Benjamin, number 68, the #1 pick in the 1985 Canadian Collegiate Draft, and he's been everything Joe Moss expected. He's a hustler, and he works hard. He's going to be a great offensive lineman.
From Concordia University in Montreal. The pass is complete to Mark Barousse, and Barousse picks up very close to the first down.
Leaf, you talk about Benjamin, and I'd like to say there's Joe Moss looking very, very eagerly and intently at his offense. But talking about Benjamin, he's an example of some of the products that come out of junior football in this country. And junior football, I don't think it's the credit it deserves. He played for Oshawa and he played for Scarborough. before he went into Concordia University, and he credits his real start with the junior football program and the coaching he got there.
Well, and we just saw him do a nice job blocking on Michael Gray.
It's second down, about a yard to go, and Quarles is going to go upstairs, or was he? No, he pulls it back down and picks up the first down as he crosses the 20 to about the 22-yard line.
Well, that's a good job by Bernard Quarles. When you're backed up deep in your own territory, all you're thinking about is let's try and pick up at least a couple of first downs, and then if we have to give up the football, we gain back some field position. And so he's got the initial one. Now let's see if he can keep it going.
Quarles swings it out for Lester Brown. He makes the catch, but only gets to the 25 for a pickup of about 3. It's not the way that pass is intended to be thrown. You want to lead the receiver a little bit and let him carry it upfield.
You sure don't want him to fall now when he make a shoestring catch on a 3-yard pass.
And as a matter of fact, they push it back to the 24, so it's only a pickup of 2. It's 2nd and 8. Well, he runs it again and gets to the 31, but he's short of the first down before Kevin Konar meets him. If he had hit Wayman Aldridge early, they would have picked up the first down, but he didn't see him. Of course, that's the inexperience of the quarterbacking position.
Yeah, I don't think he was too eager to throw that football when he rolled out. He was just looking for an opening and try and pick up those 8 yards.
So being a couple of yards short of the first down, Ottawa's going to punt. 9 minutes and 25 seconds.
Do you think Joe Moss is a little disgusted with things?
I don't think he's too happy. Of course, Joe doesn't look too happy most times.
That's true.
He is so intense. He really is. But he's doing a very good job here in Ottawa.
Well, he's brought some discipline to this club, and I think that's what they've needed.
Darnell Clash from his 36-yard line. Goes nowhere. Dropped down at the 35 by Steve Harrison, number 34. Harrison, the backup linebacker from the University of British Columbia.
Yeah, he was on that national champion team that we saw a few years ago.
44-yard boot by Kenny Clark with absolutely no return. The cover teams of both units here today have done a good job. We haven't had the big returns that we anticipated. This is Keevan Jenkins. And I'll tell you, Ottawa is playing defense as well as we've seen them play all season long. Rick Sovieta was there to bring him down.
Despite that, Pat, I have no doubt that there are BC fans saying, how come they aren't putting Tim Cowan in there? Well, the reason, quite frankly, is this from the head coach, Don Matthews. He says, I have a number 1 quarterback. He is my number 1 quarterback throughout, and I will not change him unless he is injured. He said, barring that, he will be there all the way. Either that or a big lead, in which case then I put Tim in. But we recall Cowan when he came in, and DeWalt was injured in Hamilton, and he looked great in that game.
DeWalt's pass is caught for a big first down by Sandusky into the Ottawa 50-yard line. Forced out by Ricky Barden, but when DeWalt is on target, his passes are a pretty thing to see.
Well, on 2nd and long, Ottawa back in his zone coverage, and DeWalt and Sandusky read it perfectly. Find the soft spot in behind Ricky Barden there, and Sandusky's had himself some kind of football game.
Picks up another 25 yards, has 5 catches tonight for 145 yards, and both BC touchdowns. DeWalt over the middle for Robinson, no good.
Well, that's a good call, and Roy DeWalt's really upset with himself because he saw the safety blitz coming once again and picked out the right guy, but just couldn't work the ball in there. He's saying, I know he's telling Ron Robinson, nice pattern, I should have had you.
So it's the 2nd and 10, Lions at the Ottawa 50-yard line. 3 minutes and 10 seconds left to play in this third quarter. And DeWalt is flushed out of the pocket and finally has to step out of bounds at about the 52-yard line. And now a penalty marker comes down.
That's just frustration on the part of 78 Ron Engelson, the big defensive tackle of the Ottawa Rough Riders. He was having a beef with Al Wilson, and boy, you've got to keep your poise, and he gave Wilson a shot in the face with the referee standing right there, and that's going to cost him 15 and a first down.
You know, this is the thing that drives coaches crazy, though. I mean, they had the Lions stopped. They would have had to, you know, either try the field goal or punt the football, and now the Lions get the first down.
With the way the wind's blowing, I really doubt whether they would have attempted a field goal. So now you can't give the #1 team in the league new life.
Major foul, Ottawa, number 78, unnecessary roughness. First down.
Look at Joe Moss.
I tell you, Joe might give him some unnecessary roughness in a minute.
Oh, he just about did there.
Now,
I throw the flag.
And Joe Moss is well into his 50s.
And he could do it, though.
Absolutely. Greg Marshall was there to make the tackle for the Rough Riders. You know what? I haven't seen that in so long. I can't remember the last time I've seen a head coach grab somebody by the shirt.
Reminds me of my old buddy Frank Cush.
Leaf, they tell me when you talk to
and
the
I
Ottawa
say that
players,
loosely. He was not my best friend.
That's true. The Ottawa players tell me, they say the Moss is so tough we lose more weight when we're working out than we do in actual games because the workouts are much tougher.
It's 2nd and 10 Lions. The ball at the Ottawa 33. DeWalt. This one is picked off by Ricky Barden. There is a penalty marker on the field. Barden returns it to the Ottawa 49-yard line. Holding, BC refused by Ottawa. The Rough Riders have the football at their 49-yard line. Ricky Barden comes up with his first interception of the season.
Well, that's got the crowd livened up here at Lansdowne Park, and he did an excellent job. 1-on-1 with Ron Robinson, and he wins the battle, stepping in front and coming up with the interception. That's a nice play.
Kevin Konar was in Bernard Quarles' face the moment that he looked up. And he's there to sack the Ottawa quarterback at the Ottawa 41-yard line. How many sacks, Bobby Layden? That's 8 sacks.
Watch how clean Kevin Konar comes on the right side of your screen. Nobody picks him up. They double-team Ty Cruz and really make a mistake in the blocking. The left guard, Fawcett, should have stepped off and picked up Kevin Konar. He didn't make the play. Brad Fawcett, a young fellow from the Saskatoon Hilltops, well, he's going to learn. You've got to look for that linebacker coming.
2nd down, 18 yards to go. Quarles very nearly picked off. He was intending it for Derek Zeno, but Nelson Martin, the safety, was over there on the coverage.
All of a sudden, Derek Zeno turns into a defensive back to make sure Nelson Martin doesn't make the catch there. He just makes sure Nelson can't hang on to it, but it was the sack that really set up that defensive play by Nelson Martin, because that is so tough when you've got 2nd and long against the BC Lions to work that long pass in there.
Derek Zeno is the injured Ottawa Rough Rider, and of course he and Mike Catterbone are interesting acquisitions for Ottawa this year, both acquired by Ottawa from free agent camps that were conducted south of the border, one in Ohio, the other one in Pennsylvania.
And I think a lot of credit goes to their player personnel director, who is Tom Dimitrov. And he was the one that worked those camps and found the talent there.
Jim Sandusky with the punt return, but he only picks up a couple of yards to the 25-yard line because Wayman Aldridge again was first downfield to make the stop. Should the CFL eliminate the awarding of a single point except on converts? If you feel they should eliminate it, you dial 1-900-720-3720. If you like it the way it is right now, you vote no. 1-900-720-4720. Lions have not done much in this second half offensively as they start now from their 25-yard line. The catch is made originally by Ron Robinson. He coughs up the football, and Ricky Barden is there once again to come up with it for Ottawa. Robinson made the catch, And then the ball squirted loose. Let's watch it.
Well, second big play in a row for number 25, Ricky Barden. Coughs up the fumble. It goes up in the air, and Ricky Barden, Johnny on the spot. I think Robertson actually kicked the ball in the air as it went towards the ground.
So Ottawa has possession at the BC 30. The pass is caught by Derek Zeno inside the 20 at about the 18-yard line. He was jarred by Andre Jones, but still hung on to the football.
Well, that's just sheer courage by Derek Zeno. He's coming across the middle. He knows he's going to get drilled. Ty Cruz, I'm sure, is there. Yes, he is. And that's a nice catch. You know you're going to get crunched, but you might as well hang on to it anyway.
Leaf, I asked Derek before the game, I said, how come a guy of your size who played baseball would go for football? Well, he says, I just like football, more action.
He got the first down for Ottawa. Now Catterbone makes the catch, but they rule he was out of bounds.
Good call. He was out of bounds.
No question about it. It was a great attempt by Mike Catterbone, who actually made the catch, but he was outside the field of play as the third quarter comes to an end with the BC Lions out in front of the Ottawa Rough Riders 18-3. We'll return with the fourth quarter in a moment.
Catterbone comes up with the football. Well, actually, he really didn't come up with the football, but good call.
Bernard Quarles with a fine pass down to the BC 5-yard line for a first down to Mark Barousse. The rookie from McNeese State comes up with a fine catch on a ball that was well delivered.
And James Parker almost comes up with the hit, but Quarles stays in and hangs in, and Mark Barousse makes a nice catch in front of Nelson Martin.
There's the Chevrolet three-quarter statistics.
That's really interesting, Pat. You see 296 the total for BC. Well, they had 219 at halftime, so you know the Ottawa defense has done a job.
Quarles floats it up for Zeno. He makes the catch, but he makes it at the 1-yard line. Just floated up there by Bernard Quarles, so they'll bring the short yardage big people into the ball game now.
He did a good job to stay in bounds there.
This is a much closer football game than I could have anticipated. I thought this was going to be a blowout to the tune of about 48-9. It is second down and touchdown to go for Ottawa at the BC 1-yard line. They give it to Lester Brown. Touchdown, Ottawa. There is a marker on the field. There is a penalty marker down. The touchdown will count. The penalty was against the Lions. And Ottawa is right back in this one as we begin play here in the fourth and final quarter.
And they can thank Ricky Barden for that fumble recovery that he made, and of course another great interception in the third quarter to set up this fourth quarter touchdown by Lester Brown. There's Ricky Barden on the sidelines beside him. He's responsible really for that.
Dean Dorsey will try to make it an 18-10 ball game, and he does.
Well, he doesn't make it by much, but nevertheless, Lester Brown is into the end zone with Ottawa's initial touchdown of the game, and they've tightened that margin.
It is BC 18, Ottawa 10. We'll be back with the kickoff in just a moment. Brown gets into the end zone and just makes it. As Dean Dorsey now prepares to kick it away for Ottawa, now trailing by just 8 points with 13 minutes, 58 seconds left to play in the ball game. Darnell Clash at his 5-yard line. And Clash is upended as he gets to the 24 by Chris Sigler. Number 38 was down very quickly. Ottawa's all pumped up. And I would think it's now incumbent upon Roy DeWalt to get that offense moving again.
Chris Sigler, the defensive leader at Indiana University last year, and you're not going to see a smile from Joe Moss's face, but he is a little relieved.
You know, they said, how are you going to beat them? He said, we'll beat them if we're allowed to play 15 men against their 12. Well, let's face it, they were pretty prepared coming into this one. Flag goes down, and so does DeWalt at the 15-yard line. Holding the call against BC. It'll be waved off by Ottawa.
There has to be great concern, though, in the BC club about the lack of offense.
BC number 65. Decline. Second down.
They had every opportunity to blow Ottawa right out of here after getting the early scores and getting them quite easily.
Now,
but
Bill,
they have not been able to do anything.
That's a good point. And you see Ron Engelson, number 78, who's back in the ball game. He's the one that Gerald Roper put the grab on, and he ended up knocking DeWalt down anyway.
So it is second down and about 18 yards to go. BC back at their 15-yard line. The pass is caught by Mervyn Fernandez short of the first down by a couple of yards. He's at the 32.5, and BC will be punting.
Well, listen, Ottawa's defense didn't care how many yards they gave up as long as they didn't give up the first down, and they did their job. They're getting a big ovation from this crowd here at Lansdowne Park. The fans here in the fourth quarter have really gotten into this game.
Ottawa leads the overall series between these two clubs 14-12, with a couple of games having ended in ties. And this game is as important to the Ottawa franchise as it is to BC. That's for certain.
Watch out.
He's going to run it, and he's got the first down. Oh, smart play by Louis Pasaglia. He just saw everybody move back, and he took it up himself.
Well, it's hard to believe that Louis's been in the league for 10 years, the Simon Fraser graduate. And watch right here. He sees no rush coming, so they're all peeled back trying to set up a return, and that's a heads-up play.
Louis Pasaglia gives the BC Lions a first down. Watch it.
Watch them all turn around. Now, see, Louis running behind him, and Tom Towns and the rest of the guys are going back trying to block. That's a heads-up play. Catterbone, who was the punt receiver, actually came up and forced him out of bounds.
It was an 18-yard gain by Lou. And DeWalt now goes deep for Fernandez. He makes the catch, but he's out of bounds. Now, Bill Stevenson's point is so valid because it looked like this was going to be a blowout. And so often it happens that if you don't take advantage and put the team away early, disaster happens late in the ball game. Let's see what does happen here tonight.
Well, you know, the BC Lions are going to have to realize that as the #1 team in the country up to this point of the season, teams are going to give a little extra when they play against them. It's a fact of life, and they're going to have to be prepared for that.
It's 2nd and 10, Lions at their own 50. DeWalt finally finds somebody wide open. It was Keevan Jenkins, but he overthrew him.
Boy, he's tapping himself on the helmet because he knows had he been able to hit Keevan, he might have gone the distance. Well, when you're having a good night on defense, things go right for you. Ottawa fortunate that that ball was overthrown.
And just want to remind everybody that we will be in Regina for Sunday afternoon's game. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. What a job Jack Goda, George Brancato, and their staff have done out there in Saskatchewan. And, of course, Cal Murphy has a club that could win it all again this year. This is Eric Zeno from his 8-yard line. And Zeno takes it right up over the 20 to about the 21. Ottawa will have the football when we come back. They trail now 18-10, and we'll return in a moment. Bill Stevenson at Lansdowne Park in the nation's capital. We've got 11 minutes, 59 seconds left to play in the ball game. The BC Lions are leading the Ottawa Roughriders 18-10. But it looked like this was going to be forget-it time for Ottawa early in the ball game when BC put consecutive drives back-to-back for touchdowns to DeWalt to Sandusky, but Ottawa has hung in there, and they're in a position right now where they could even tie this ball game. Burrow's pass is complete to Lester Brown, and Brown only gets back to the original line of scrimmage before Mike Gray was there to bring him down, and Kevin Konar was there too. But you want to talk defense. BC has a defense that won't give you too much either.
Well, Lester did the right thing, put enough of a hit on Parker to slow him down, but he wasn't counting on Mike Gray getting out there as quickly as he did.
So credit Lester with a pickup of a yard, make it 2nd and 9, Ottawa. Well, he had absolutely no place to go. Nick Hebler was there first, and then he turned him right into Mike Gray. So 99 gets the assist on the tackle by Mike Gray, 77.
Well, there's a pretty good trio of ball players right there leaving the field. Nick Hebler, Glenn Jackson, and number 91, Ty Cruz. Tough defense.
And now Kenny Clark will be punting into this breeze as Sandusky and Clash await back at the BC 50. Good hang time on this. Sandusky takes it right at the 50. And Raymond Aldridge was first downfield. Mike Hudson was there to help out. And the BC Lions will start on their own side of midfield.
You know, special teams is not a heck of a lot of finesse. It's just hard work and desire, and both these clubs tonight have done a great job. Watch number 8, Wayman Aldridge. He's got to run all day playing wide receiver, and yet he's the first one downfield, and that's twice tonight that he's made the initial play.
Roy DeWalt has not had an outstanding night. He's been good in spots. He throws the screen and it is picked off. And that is likely Michel Bourgeau, number 83, as the Ottawa defense just got right in his face. Lloyd Lewis was there. So too was Rick Sovieta. And in speaking with Joe Moss yesterday, he said, we've got to get on the quarterback in a hurry, but we don't want to blitz him to do it. However, here comes Sovieta.
Well, they're trying to get the screen into John Henry White, and a defensive lineman's dream is to touch that football. Michel Bourgeau comes up with the interception. What a big play that is.
And now Ottawa has possession at the BC 53-yard line. Quarles' pass is caught down at the 32-yard line by Mike Catterbone. Darnell Clash was on him right away, but there's Michel Bourgeau, a Canadian boy from Ottawa, from Boise State. And Ottawa is pumped up, and the Lions look a little bit flat. They don't look flat defensively, but on offense, they just don't have that zip they had in the earlier part of the ball game.
Well, on their first touchdown, they took advantage of a turnover. Once again, Bernard Quarles, after the interception, has got the team moving.
Quarles' pass is caught. Mark Barousse makes the catch for the Rough Riders, picks up about 4 or 5 yards before Ty Cruz moved over to make the stop.
That's one thing. If that offensive line of the Riders can give Bernard Quarles time to throw, he'll step up and throw those strikes downfield. It's just when he gets that constant pressure that all he thinks of is running with the football.
Pickup was actually 3 yards. Joe Moss, well, he looks, a little more content than he did. He'll look a lot happier if they ever put it in the end zone. Here they come again. And Quarles threw it. Barousse ran a post, and Quarles threw it to the corner.
Well, that play just never had time to develop. Sorry, Bill. The pressure once again just so heavy and intense. Quarles had no time to set up and deliver a good throw.
Thought it was interesting that Joe Moss said one thing we really need on this club is a hero. Somebody has to be a hero for us. And that's what he's waiting. And if they can find one here in the last few minutes, they are going to make things very dicey for these BC Lions.
Dean Dorsey's field goal try will come from the 36-yard line. And it is good. And so, with 8 minutes and 42 seconds left to play in the ball game, the Rough Riders have cut the BC Lions lead to just 5 points. We'll be back in a moment. World of sports. The U.S. Long Course Swimming will come to you from Mission Viejo in California, the Fleischmann's World Cup from Spruce Meadows in Alberta, and Carl the Truth Williams tackles Jesse Ferguson live from Atlantic City, New Jersey. The Rough Riders now just 5 points down. This is Kevon Jenkins from his 20. And he gets over the 35 to about the 36-yard line. Chris Sigler was there to make the stop. Rookie from Indiana plays in that safety spot for the Ottawa Rough Riders in their secondary. He's very effective on the special units as well. Bernard Quarles came on in relief of J.C. Watts, and they have certainly moved the ball much better under his leadership. Now the Lions have got to move it, starting from their 36-yard line. Toss goes to Kevan Jenkins, and Jenkins is stopped as he gets to the 40. The penetration was made by Lamont Meacham, and he was able to limit Kevan to a pickup of about 3.
Well, he was in the perfect position because he, on the short side of the field, was staying up in run support coverage, and he would have had the short zone, so he was able to come up quickly and put the early hit on him.
Give you an idea of Jenkins' efforts tonight. He's carried the ball 10 times for just 49 yards. That's less than 5 yards a carry. He came into the ball game averaging close to 7. Again, this is Jenkins. And he fights his way to about the 46. He'll be very, very close to the first down. Michel Bourgeot, number 83, made the stop for Ottawa.
He's going to come up a little short, I believe, about a foot or so, and at this point in time, Don Matthews is going to gamble. Nick Hebler comes in for a little extra beef on that offensive line.
Clock is running with 7:20 left to play in the ball game. BC 18, Ottawa 13. Third down, less than a yard. DeWalt normally keeps under this situation, and he does, and gets the first down. Rick Sovietta's upset about something, so is Greg Marshall.
And Pat, I don't know what's happening over on that Ottawa sideline, except that J.C. Watts has started to warm up, and I can't imagine him coming back into action, but it's a possibility.
It's a cold night, Bill.
Well, maybe that's it. You might have the point.
I know this much. If J.C. Watts comes back out onto the field, don't go over and argue with Joe Moss.
He's one intense looking guy, isn't he?
From the 47-yard line, their own, the Lions have another first down. Over the middle to Kevan Jenkins. And Jenkins crosses midfield into Ottawa territory at about the 52. Rick Sovieta was first there to bring him down.
I'd like to talk to all BC Lions fans, everybody in the area. You go ahead with the replay there, first of all, Leaf.
Well, Kevan Jenkins just once again the release valve for Roy DeWalt as everybody drops deep.
And he picked up the 10 yards, so it's another BC first down at the Ottawa 52.5. DeWalt to Fernandez. And Fernandez is forced out by Lamont Meacham inside the Ottawa 40 at the 39-yard line. It's another BC first down.
For you BC Lion fans, make a note right now around the calendar for October the 10th. That will be the BC Lions Gentlemen's Dinner when the all-time all-star team of the BC Lions will be introduced, and Merlin Olsen and Joe Piscopo, Saturday Night Live, will be guest speakers. What a great night it'll be, October 10th, BC Lions Gentlemen's Dinner. Make sure you get your tickets.
Kevan Jenkins, nowhere to go. Tom Towns and Michel Bourgeot were both there.
You know, that's just experience by Tommy Towns. He probably just had a feeling from the formation or something that he saw, and he just took off and made the play on Kevan Jenkins. But, you know, that's just experience that makes that play.
The loss was 4 yards, so it's 2nd and 14. Ball is back at the 44-yard line. DeWalt is drilled. The ball comes loose, but he was able to recover it himself. But Rick Sovieta hit him square in the back, and it's not surprising that Roy dropped the football.
Well, one of the few times that they have blitzed tonight, the Ottawa Rough Riders were very successful as Rick Sovieta comes through on touch. He'll be coming from the right side of your screen. See him sneak right through and put a heck of a hit on Roy DeWalt. They're a fired-up group.
They really are. So Zeno and Catterbone drop back to receive this punt from Louis Pasaglia with 4 minutes and 45 seconds left to play on the ball game. Ottawa trailing by 5. This is a high punt that Zeno takes at his 5-yard line. And there is no room at all for him to move. He gets maybe to the 7.
No, I had an interesting chat with Bobby Ackles yesterday, and he was quite disappointed in their performance against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, even though they won the football game. And, you know, I said, Bobby, I said, what you have to remember is, you know, maybe you feel like you didn't play that well, but the good teams that don't play well and still win have a chance to go all the way.
Well, that's a valid point, too. However, I would think that there is concern because this is their third week in a row where they haven't, you know, really shown the offensive power we know them to have. This is Lester Brown. Boy, that swarming BC defense was there to contain him to a pickup of maybe a couple of yards. Larry Crawford, number 34, was in to make the initial hit. Spot the ball at about the 8-yard line, so credit him with a gain of 1. Under 4 minutes left to play in the ball game. Raymond Aldridge makes the catch up over the 30 at the 32-yard line. Keith Gooch was there to bring him down. But boy, did Quarles ever put that one in there.
Yeah, that's a great throw. They get a soft spot in the zone coverage. Mel Bird's coming over, but he can't make the play, and that is a super catch by Wayman Aldridge. That's the kind of big play you have to make when you're backed up and you're behind in the fourth quarter.
Ottawa now with possession at their 31. Quarles throws, the catch is made by Catterbone up around midfield. What have we here? 3 minutes and 20 seconds left to play in the ball game. The Ottawa Rough Riders, trailing by 5, are on the move.
Well, he gets in underneath Darnell Clash, and when Bernard Quarles has been given the time and the opportunity to step in that pocket, he's really thrown some strikes. It's a good ball game now.
Now it's a terrific football game. Quarles floats it up looking for Wayman Aldridge, and it was tipped away at the very last moment by Keith Gooch.
Well, that's a nice job because you've got to turn yourself around and locate the football. He did a good job.
It is BC 18, Ottawa 13. We'll be back for the finale in just a moment. Second down, 10 yards to go, Ottawa. The pass was intended for Mike Hudson. It goes over his head as Nick Hebler was all over quarterback Bernard Quarles.
Yeah, you know, that's what pressure will do to you. He didn't get the sack, but Nick Hebler caused that ball to be overthrown. He got the arms up and just couldn't get the ball into Mike Hudson.
And so with 2:49 and the clock now stopped, Ken Clark comes out onto the field, and he'll be punting for Ottawa on 3rd and 10. Maybe the night he's had. It's not too deep, but it is high. Sandusky runs under it. A flag comes down. The Ottawa fans are not too happy about this one. It's very close. They're going to call no yards against the Rough Riders. 34 yards was the punt.
Well, Larry Crawford, the injured BC Lion on the play. Number 8, Wayman Aldridge, the first man down all night, will be called for the no yards penalty.
No yards. Ottawa, number 73. First down.
Well, they called Mike Hudson on the no yards, and let's take a look at it.
Well, well, I don't know. That's a tough one there.
So BC has possession at their own 37-yard line. Quickly, they flare it out to Sandusky. He makes the catch, but is downed immediately by Ricky Barden, who just touched him down. And there's actually no gain on the play.
It's a quick screen, and unless it's a perfect throw, that whole play does not get off to a good start, then you can't execute it properly.
So the clock is moving with 2:32 left to play in the ball game. BC 18, Ottawa 13. Second down, 10 yards to go, Lions. This is the draw to Keevan Jenkins, and what a big play that is, because it gives BC a first down out over their 50-yard line before Chris Ziegler was there to make the tackle. A pickup of 14 yards.
Boy, that's some kind of call by Roy DeWalt as well. And defensively, that's just a killer because you're expecting 2nd and 10. You're expecting them to throw, and they just widened everybody out and made a great play.
There's the screen to Fernandez. And BC is very upset at that. They felt that Lloyd Lewis came in a little bit late. You hate to see a guy who's lying on the ground and then, you know, have somebody come in as Lewis did and really stick him.
I kind of thought that was a little late myself.
Yeah. Fernandez picked up about 7 yards on the play. Fernandez has caught 7 passes tonight, gives him a total of 50 on the season. This is Keevan Jenkins, and Jenkins crosses the Ottawa 50 into about the 49 before Al Washington makes the tackle, and he should have another first down. Following tonight's game, the Carling O'Keefe Sports Game Stars will receive a Royal Canadian Mint 1-ounce gold coin presented by Kodak, makers of the new 8mm Codavision video systems featuring the portable all-in-one camera and recorder from Kodak.
And boy, that's going to be a tough choice tonight defensively. So many guys that have played well. Ricky Barden, Michael Gray, Glenn Jackson.
Keevan Jenkins carries for BC and gets to the Ottawa 45 before Al Washington once again makes the stop. Washington, the veteran 5-year player for the Rough Riders from Ohio State.
Offensively, if the BC Lions do hold on to this lead, how can you overlook a guy like Jim Sandusky? Scored both their touchdowns and really very deserving, I think, this evening.
It's 2nd down, about 7 yards to go. Lions with 1:05 left to play in the ball game. Keevan Jenkins, again the ball carrier, but this time he does not get the first down, and the reason for that was Al Washington was there very quickly. He didn't make the tackle, but he was there to impede Keevan before he could get into high gear, and that enabled the other folks to come up and make the stop.
Yeah, that's a big play because with only 59 seconds remaining, they've got to get their hands back on the football, and they have to force the BC Lions to punt.
Ottawa does not put Zeno or Catterbone back. They simply have Ricky Barden as the lone punt returner. I'm sure Joe Moss must have told him to let this ball go into the end zone if in fact it gets that far. Louis angles it for the corner, and it bounces out of bounds. Let's see where they'll mark it. At the 17-yard line. So with just 44 seconds left to play in the game and Ottawa trailing by 5 points, they start deep in their own territory at the 17.
That's a good job by Lou Pasaglia to get that ball out of bounds. No way. He knew he didn't want to give up a single point either. Well, there you see it, 44 seconds remaining, and a long bit of real estate to cover for Bernard Quarles and the Ottawa Rough Rider offense.
93 yards, as a matter of fact. Quarles is up to the 30-yard line for a first down with 36 seconds. The clock will stop momentarily as they move the yardsticks.
I do believe Ottawa is trying to get a timeout in there and stop that clock.
There it is, the timeout called by the Rough Riders. Well, let's look at what they can do here. They got an awful lot of yards to make up with just 36 seconds to do it. You just throw outs all the way down the field. Sooner or later, you're going to have to go deep,
Well, I think you've got to go in that 15 to 20-yard range, and of course, you've got to get the ball out of bounds at the same time if you can. It's a tough job. You're going against the #1 defense in the league, and Joe Moss is discussing things with Bernard Quarles. J.C. Watt's off to the side there. But it's a tough spot to be in. 5 points down.
But, you know, look at Joe Moss. He obviously wants to win the football game, but he can take satisfaction out of knowing that his team was in this ball game right till the end against the #1 team in Canada.
Well, the defense has played exceptionally well. I did check with statistician Bobby Layden on their total offense in the second half for the BC Lions, but it can't be very much. A lot of it amassed on that last drive before they had to punt the football.
Okay, it's first down, Ottawa. The ball right at their 30. The clock will start on the snap of the ball. It's down to 35 seconds, 34. Quarles pass to Wayman Aldridge is caught at the BC 49-yard line. .30 seconds left to play. BC 18, Ottawa 13.
Well, they've got the crowd here on their feet at Lansdowne Park. They cut them in the defense, down the seam in the middle, and that's a great throw and catch. Oh, that's going to make it interesting now.
Quarles floats it up, but this one is picked off. It was intended for Mike Catterbone, but Darnell Clash makes the game-saving interception down at the 5-yard line.
Boy, Bernard Quarles really took a hit. I thought Michael Gray jumped offside on that play, but there was no flag, and Darnell Clash has salted this one away.
But an interesting football game. Interesting because of the fine performance by the Ottawa Rough Riders, and interesting because BC did what they had to do to win.
Well, Darnell Clash has had himself a great ball game, and it seems only fitting that he's the guy who could make the play there.
So with just 22 seconds left to play, the BC Lions can run out the clock. I don't imagine you're going to see anything very fancy here. Roy will take the snap, go down on one knee. Do it one more time, and that'll do the ball game. He's touched down by Lloyd Lewis.
Well, Bobby Layton informs me that the Ottawa Rough Riders have indeed held the BC Lions to 184 yards in this half, and they've done a pretty good job. Still, BC had over 400 yards in offense tonight, though. That's not bad either.
Yeah, and the other thing is this. They win their 7th game in 8 tries.
Well, you know, they've put the pressure right squarely on the shoulders of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers now. They are 4 points up in the standings, and Winnipeg is going to have their hands full in Saskatchewan on Sunday.
That'll be a great football game, and we're certainly looking forward to it as the BC Lions chalk up victory number 7 in 8 tries here at Lansdowne Park tonight as they defeat the Ottawa Rough Riders 18-13. But it's got to be a moral victory for Ottawa, if nothing else, because after giving out 2 back-to-back touchdowns to Jim Sandusky early in the ball game, they don't let them in the end zone again. Should the CFL eliminate the awarding of a single point except on converts? I'm surprised at that.
I am too, Pat.
But we don't know how large the poll was. We do know that it was 58% said yes, eliminate the single point. And I think that that would be too bad because it would take away the real flavor of the Canadian game. Let's go downstairs to Bill Stevenson.
Matthews, you had a game today in which you could have blown them out early, and yet you allowed them to come back in, and you must be a little bit disappointed at the way your offense has been operating.
Yeah, we're a little disappointed that we didn't get more points, but we self-destructed when I think we were trying to get some things going. We had a holding penalty or some things happened to us that really are concerning to all of us, and it's not a matter of effort because they really had a great week of practice, and I think that they're trying very hard out there. We're just going to have to go back and make sure that we pay attention to little things and get better on offense.
What do you think you were doing wrong tonight from an offensive standpoint?
Well, I think it was a combination of things. I think we started out and we moved the ball very well and got some points early. Then they made a pretty good adjustment to take away our short passing game. And then their rush was getting to us before we could let our deeper routes take effect. So, you know, we just have to move the ball more consistently than that. We surely didn't tonight.
Do you put the blame on Roy DeWalt?
No, not at all. Roy DeWalt, I'm sure, when you look at that game, you'll find that he did lots of good things.
Have you had a lot of cries to maybe change from DeWalt to Cowan at times? And what is your feeling if that is the case?
Oh, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are interested in that. Funny thing happened tonight, though. Tim Cowan hyperextended his knee in warm-ups. And before the game started, we said, hey, we won't use you unless it's an emergency. And he usually warms up all the time behind the bench, but he didn't tonight because he hyperextended it a little, and we didn't want to put him in there worried about his knee.
Now, when you've gone 3 games here, you lost to Calgary, you were not happy with your performance against Hamilton, and you were not contented with your performance, although a victory against this club tonight, the Ottawa Rough Riders. Where do you start from a coaching staff standpoint? to get it turned around again?
We start with the fact that we're 7-1, and we're in first place, and we think that we have a good football team, and we're going to give some credit to the Ottawa Rough Riders because they played very well on defense. So those are the places we'll start and then move from there.
Let's look at the positive side, and that is the defense, and your defense that played just, I thought, magnificently as well.
Our defense has won many games for us in the last 3 years, and tonight was no exception, just like last week wasn't. And I think if you have a strong defense, you always have a chance to win, and I really believe that, and our guys played like that and proved it the last 2 weeks.
Are you getting extra pressure on you? I mean, not just you, but you, your coaching staff, and the team, because they are so highly rated?
No, we don't have any pressure. You know, there are other thoughts about how our football team should be run, but we know who's running it, and so we don't really mind too much.
What about not getting the ball out to Fernandez?
Well, I think they were rolling the coverage a little bit towards them, and so we took what they were giving us, and what we did is Jimmy really runs a good post-corner pattern, and the type of zone that they were playing dictated that's where we go with the ball. He surely was getting open.
And they are keying on Keevan Jenkins because he has not been as effective as he was either in the start of this season.
No, but I think that he had his good game. I don't know what he got for yards, but they played pretty well up front. You know, that when you look at it, you say, hey, Ottawa's a pretty good football team, a good defensive football team. They proved that the last couple of weeks and again tonight.
Better than a lot of people give them credit for.
I think that's exactly right.
Tom Matthews, 7-1 at the top of the league. Congratulations. A victory for the BC Lions. The final score is BC winning 18-13 over Ottawa on CTV's Friday Night Football. Will continue in a moment.
And now the Carling O'Keefe Sports offensive and defensive game stars as selected by our broadcast crew. From BC, wide receiver Jim Sandusky is the offensive star, and from the Lions, defensive tackle Mike Gray is the defensive star. Each of tonight's outstanding players will receive a Royal Canadian Mint 1-ounce gold coin presented by Kodak, makers of the new 8mm Kodavision video systems featuring the portable all-in-one camera and recorder. From Kodak, this is the CFL on CTV.
Well, this happy young man beside me is Jim Sandusky, the offensive star of the game. Jim, you had 6 catches, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's got to be about your best game of the year.
Yeah, it sure felt like it. It was, you know, it was great to come off to a flying start like that.
What was it that you were doing? What made things roll for you tonight?
We pretty much knew what they were going to do defensively, and we just executed our plays very well, and they ran a 2-deep zone on us very much, so we exploited the outsides.
Well, there is that. I think that's the first touchdown you scored. You took on the sidelines when they tried to make an interception.
Yeah, that was a post corner move, and I got the receiver to bite inside a little bit, and Roy, you know, threw a perfect ball, and
there's your second one.
Yeah, that was just like I explained at halftime, quick out, you know, trying to get close to the goal line so our big team could run it in.
Nice little move, too.
Thank you.
Jim, how is it that a fellow your size can be so successful in pro football? We have been taught all over the years that you got to be big and rugged, and here you are, about 160 or 65 pounds soaking wet and 5'8", and yet you're a terror out on the field.
I got bad hearing. I don't hear that stuff. But, no, I just give all my faith in the Lord and just do the best I can do.
Well, Jim, there are a lot of receivers in this league, though, that are not big, and so there must be a secret to it. I mean, is it the way you run the pass patterns? What is it?
Oh, you have to be, you know, you really got to be up on the game and know what you're doing and make no mistakes and, you know, run good patterns, catch the ball is the main thing.
Now, when you say know what you're doing, are you studying the defenders? Do you study the defenders you're going to be working against?
Oh, definitely. We'll go in, not tomorrow, but the next day, and we'll be looking at Toronto, and we'll watch them all week and see their tendencies and attack them the way we've been trying.
And you hope have as much success.
I sure hope so.
Jim, congratulations.
Thank you.
For the offensive star of the game. And so the offensive star of the game is Jim Sandusky, and the final score 18-13, and we'll be back with Friday Night Football on CTV in a moment. There is no doubt that the entire BC Lion defense just played superbly out here tonight. They were the reason that the Lions were able to hold on and come through with victory. So it was awful tough to pick out the man who was the best, and that shows you how good Jim Gray had to be tonight. You just had a whale of a ball game, 3 sacks, at least 3 sacks out there, and you were pressuring all the way. Do you feel it was your best performance?
Yes, it was one of my best games this year.
Now, you tried out a couple of times with Seattle. You tried to break in with the BC Lions last year and missed. You finally broke through. So this has been the big year for you, the big chance to make it in pro ball.
Oh, yes. This is my first year, and it's been my best year so far.
Okay. Well, Mike, let me ask you this. When you take a look at the game tonight, what was the defense's plan, the front four? Was it to constantly be on the quarterback?
Oh, yes. Our 4 guys, we like to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And this year, so far, we've been putting equal pressure. All 4 guys be getting back there.
So it's not just a case of one man doing it, then. You can't do it without the other 3.
That's very true. Very, very so much true. When you got 4 good guys, like, we all rely on each other.
What do you do when you prepare for a game? How do you go about preparing for the offense, such as Ottawa here tonight?
First, it begins with tons and tons of film work. We watch film all week long, evaluate what their offenses, their strengths are and their weaknesses, and we just try to explore their weaknesses.
Did you have any difference when Quarles came in there? Did that make it any tougher for you?
He's very similar to JC. They're both great runners, but no difference. We treated them the same way.
Just go after them all the way.
Yes.
Okay, Michael Gray, congratulations.
Thank you.
The defensive star of the game, Mike Gray. The final score, BC winning it 18-13. And we'll be back with more Friday Night Football on CTV in a moment.
Dr. Huxtable
is happily married.
Rudy never attacks when you're home.
And a very proud father.
All right, last one finished has to eat the cow's tongue.
However, he often finds it easier to handle the kids he's bringing into the world than the ones he's raising. It's entertainment at its best. The Cosby Show. New this fall on CTV.
People who came to this football game enjoyed it if they were Ottawa Rough Riders supporters. BC Lions supporters might have, some question marks, but listen, they're 7-1. What do you say about a team that is off to such a terrific start?
Well, you say they deserve to be the #1 team in the country, and I know the fans sometimes in BC get on them because they haven't played maybe as exciting football as they thought they should have in the last few games, but 7-1 is 7-1. They've got 4-point lead now over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and that really puts the pressure on the Bombers on Sunday.
Well, we talk about Winnipeg, Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan isn't likely to contend for first place, I don't think. But then again, if they beat Winnipeg, they're tied with the Blue Bombers. So, that sets up just a terrific football game. Let's talk about the Ottawa Rough Riders just for a moment. They've got to be pleased at what they did here tonight.
Well, I think after this performance, Joe Moss is going to say, defensively, we sure did the job. We held BC Lions to 18 points, and that's a job in itself. Offensively, they just have to become a little more consistent, and they can't beat themselves. Mistakes really hurt them tonight, and if they can eliminate some of those things, I think they're going to have a successful year.
Wayman Aldridge, I thought, played very, very well for Ottawa tonight, and he may have saved his job.
Yeah, because we were talking about him. He was kind of under the gun, but he made some great catches, a super catch late in the game, and I think he's kept his job at least for another few weeks.
We are going to be at sold-out Taylor Field in Regina, Sunday afternoon at 3:30 Eastern Time. That will be a whale of a football game. It always is when these two clubs meet. Then Monday, our Western crew with Dale Isaac, Frank Rigney, and all the guys will be out there as Edmonton plays in Calgary, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Sunday.
This CFL telecast has been brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Sports, bringing the sports world home to you. This telecast is copyright and is strictly for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or rebroadcast in whole or in part without the express written consent of the CTV television network is strictly prohibited.
This is the CTV Television Network.